Hello and welcome to Table Read Tuesday. Today we're reading Sherlock, Series 2, Episode 3, The Reichenbach Fall. And I might be pronouncing that incorrectly. We'll see. So we're just going to go around the room and please feel free to tell us all a little bit about yourselves and where we can get a hold of you. So first is Heather Lee Cameron.
Hello, my name is Heather Lee Cameron. I'm an actor / voice actor. I'm a writer / freelance journalist. I'm an independent filmmaker, and I'm a family history research student from Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada. You can find my work on Facebook under Heather Lee Freelancer or on YouTube under The Stormin' Latter-day Saint, which is also where all my personal links are. Tonight, I will be playing Lestrade, warder, BBC reporter, and defense barrister. I haven't seen Sherlock, but, I love a challenge. So I'm looking forward to this.
Awesome, thank you. And next we have Kat.
I am Kat Wilson. I am in Gig Harbor, Washington. I have seen Sherlock. I actually love this show and this particular episode. Tonight I'll be playing Beefeaters, Donovan, Kitty, ironically, Judge, and Chief Super.
Thank you, Kat. And next is Morgan Toll.
Hello, I'm Morgan. I am a voice actor based in Los Angeles, SAG-AFTRA. You can find me on Instagram at Morgan Elizabeth Toll. I'm also the talent executive for Streamily.com. If you haven't heard of it, definitely check it out.
Thank you. And you're just on mute.
Who'd you call? You
Vicky.
got cut off. Okay.
Oh, sorry. You're just on mute though.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Hi, you froze up a bit. I'm Vicki Dykes. I'm from Central Alberta, just outside of Red Deer. Tonight I will be reading Action and Description, Prosecuting Barrister, Anderson and Father. I do love all Sherlock Holmes series, and yes, I've watched all of these numerous times. And you can find me on Facebook under my name, Vicki Dykes, and also on Instagram, I'm YogaGramma7.
Thank you. And next is Erin Lillis.
Hello, I am Erin Lillis. I am a voice actor in Los Angeles, California, non-union. I work a lot in audio dramas, and tonight I'd like to push one of my favorites, which is called Deconstructive Criticism, which takes place in the Washington area. And it is a comedy, and season 2 is about to pick up again. So I would love if you would stream and listen to on your favorite podcast catcher, season 1 and 2.
Awesome, thanks.
And tonight I'll be John Watson and amongst other people.
Yes. And Petra Stedman.
Hello, Petra Stedman. Let's see, writer, actress, massive Sherlock fan, been a Doyle head for a really, really long time. I have almost all the Funkos. The only one I decided to bring out was my little Moriarty with his little crown because I love him. Yeah, I've been looking forward to this one for a while, so I'm excited. And can be found mostly on either Facebook at my name, or I'll try and keep that more personal. And then Twitter when I remember it, also at Petra Stedman, or what is that other one? Oh, right, Instagram when I remember that it's there, which I'm hopefully doing. And anybody, if you know, my version of the purple shirt. So we'll see how this goes. And tonight I'm reading Sherlock, which between this and Moriarty, I'm like excited. I look forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. And I also love Sherlock, but it's been many years since I've seen them. So, and they're they only put out like 3 at a time. So you get to the end and it's like, I want more. But it's never enough. All right. We are just about to
All those
share
people
the
griping about
screen.
mid-season breaks or something. Oh, it'll be back in a whole month. They have to wait a whole month. Oh yeah. Hold my beer. Sherlock fan sitting over here.
Yes. So whenever you're ready, Vicky, please take us away.
Sherlock, Series 2, Episode 3, The Reichenbach Fall. Written by Stephen Thompson. Final shooting script. Oh, it's a little bit small.
Oh, okay, hold on it.
Much better. Thank you. On Ella, John's therapist, her consulting room, pale sunlight.
Why now?
Camera turns around. John on the sofa again. First time in an age. He stares at the window. Can't seem to look at her.
John? Why today? 18 months since your last appointment.
You want to hear me say it? You read the papers.
Sometimes.
You watch TV. You know why I'm here. It's because
Can't say it.
What happened, John?
And he burst into tears, a soldier's tears, not a hysterical flood, but the tears of someone who hates crying.
You need to get it out.
Sherlock,
Yes.
my best friend, Sherlock Holmes, he's gone.
Music swells and opening titles. Interior gallery day. Tied in on a painting, a rich romantic landscape, a cascading waterfall. Camera pulls back. The painting on an easel in front of a small crowd. The director of the gallery addressing them.
Falls of the Reichenbach. Turner's masterpiece, thankfully recovered, owing to the prodigious talents of Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
He beams at John and Sherlock, a ripple of applause for our heroes. Shake hands. Sherlock looking bored, John smiling his arse off to try to compensate. Offers Sherlock a small gift, a little box wrapped in posh paper.
Small token of our gratitude.
Diamond cufflinks.
Odd. Hasn't even unwrapped it yet, but knows what it is all the same.
My cuffs all have buttons.
He means thank you.
Do I?
Say it.
Thank you.
Cameras clicking. John notices the small gaggle of the reporters come to cover the story, scribbling in their pads. Out on John, frowning. What are they writing? Exterior gallery cab day. Coming out of the gallery into the street.
High functioning sociopath. Remember, John, I don't do please and thank you and all those slow bits.
Sociopath, I get. Still waiting for the high functioning.
Chin nods at the reporters, leaving to file their stories.
Look at them all, off to file their stories.
I know.
About you.
So?
On John, troubled, watching them.
Watch it. That's all. Just watch it.
Exterior London street day. The front steps of a Kensington home. A smiling family, father, mother, son, facing the press. Sherlock and John beside them. Back with my family after my terrifying ordeal, and we have one person to thank for my deliverance, Sherlock Holmes. More applause. The little boy offers Sherlock a thank you gift, again in wrapping paper.
It's a tie pin. I don't wear ties.
Shh.
How does he do it with the wrapping still on? The press gaggle a little bigger. Clicking cameras take us into interior office day. Scene is cut. Interior Scotland Yard day. The press room at Scotland Yard. Lestrade at the podium. Sherlock and John beside him. He clicks on a projector lead and an ugly man mugshot is projected on a screen.
Peter Ricoletti, #1 on Interpol's most wanted list since 1982. Well, we've got him. And there's one person we have to thank for giving us the decisive leads.
He looks over to Sherlock, and there's Sherlock and John, a little uneasy in front of the biggest press gaggle we've seen.
With all his customary diplomacy and tact.
Soto to Sherlock.
Shit, sarcasm.
Yes.
On the press, applauding. Now on a parcel being passed over to John, then to Sherlock. On Sherlock, looking grim, getting it already.
We all chipped in.
Over at the side, Anderson and Sally Donovan, smirking at what's to come, and Sherlock has unwrapped a deer stalker. Cries from the press, put it on, put the hat on.
Yes, Sherlock, put it on.
Just get it over with.
Glowering, Sherlock pops the hat on his head. A fusillade of camera flashes. Flash, flash, flash. Each one becomes a different newspaper photograph of Sherlock glowering at his hated deer stalker. On the final flash, we cut to interior 221B Baker Street Day. The deer stalker now skewered to the mantelpiece with Sherlock's knife in place of the usual mail.
Boffin.
Sherlock has just thrown aside a newspaper, is now pacing the flat angrily.
Boffin Sherlock Holmes.
On John, he's sitting with a pile of newspapers. The boys are checking their reviews.
Everybody gets one.
One what?
Tabloid nickname. Foxy Noxy, Nasty Nick. Shouldn't worry, I'll probably get one soon.
Page 5, column 6, first paragraph.
John is now scanning the paper.
Bachelor?
And it's always the hat photograph. Every time. The hat.
Bachelor John Watson?
Sherlock has ripped the deerstalker from the mantel, now examines it in disgust.
Bachelor? What the hell are they implying?
I mean, what kind of hat is it anyway? Is it a cap? Why has it got two fronts?
It's a deerstalker. Frequently in the company of Bachelor John Watson.
How do you stalk a deer with a hat? What do? Throw it?
Confirmed Bachelor John Watson.
Like a death frisbee?
Oh, okay, this is too much. We need to be more careful.
It's got ear flaps, John. It's an ear hat. Careful, what do you mean?
John snatches the deerstalker from him.
I mean, this isn't a deerstalker now. It's a Sherlock Holmes hat. I mean, you're not exactly a private detective anymore. You're this far from famous.
It'll pass.
It better pass because the press will turn, Sherlock. They always turn, and they'll turn on you.
It actually bothers you
What?
what people say.
Yes!
About me, I don't understand. Why would it upset you?
John is going to say it, but then changes his mind.
Just try to keep a low profile. Find yourself a little case this week. Stay out of the news.
Exterior, Tower of London day. Camera soars over London, tight in on Tower Hill. Caption, Tower of London, 11 a.m. Ravens, Beefeaters, Trader's Gate, the Bloody Tower, snaking queues of tourists lining up outside the kiosk. Tighter still on a swarm of tourists inside the walls.
Crown jewels.
Camera whoops around. Standing in the middle of the group, taking photos with his smartphone, Jim Moriarty, wearing a baseball cap that says, I love London, and chewing gum. Interior jewel room day. Tourists walk through a metal detector as they enter the jewel room itself, emptying their pockets. Jim puts his smartphone in the plastic tray, passes through the metal detector without incident, walks inside and sees the crown jewels. The imperial state crown, teeming with diamonds, trimmed with ermine, scepter, jewel orb, all surrounded by a humming network of red laser beams. Metal screens hover over the entrances, ready to slam shut if any one of the beams is cut. And up above, the ceiling is filled with rotating cameras, chattering and whirring. Jim takes out a pair of headphones, coolly places them in his ears, and clicks play on a smartphone. Music starts to play. Rossini, La Gazza Ladra. plays through the entire Tower of London sequence. Cut to bank of TV screens. A security guard studies them. A second guard stands just behind him, idly watching. It's a boring day. The screens. We see the guided tour passing through the jewel house. They dwindle, then disappear. One person lingers behind as they go. Jim, listening to his music. The second security guard says something like, "Fancy a cuppa?" Interior, Bank of England day. Cut to a fine bone china cup and saucer. A young man in a suit, intern, carries it through an oak paneled office. Caption, Bank of England, 11 a.m. The bank director, Mervyn King, look-alike, basically mop of gray hair and glasses, sits at his desk, scanning his computer screen, studying the exchange rates.
Gilts at 7, Dutch Telecoms in free fall.
The intern gingerly puts his tea in front of him.
Thank you, Harvey.
Just before it lands, we cut away to interior, Pentonville Prison Day, the prison governor's office. Caption, Pentonville Prison, 11 a.m. A prison warder plunks a tea tray on the table, prison issue mugs, and a biscuit barrel. The governor's in a meeting, a parole hearing, a handful of staff around a table, wading through a huge stack of prisoners' personal files. He sighs.
What do you say? Refuse them all parole and bring back the rope?
No one laughs.
Oh well.
Wearily, he picks up the first heavy file. Interior, Tower of London day. Jim in the jewel room, music still playing. He has a little plastic aerosol, taps the guard on the shoulder and sprays him in the mouth as he turns. The guard collapses to the floor from effect. Next, he reaches into his jacket, produces a small plastic capsule, which he snaps and throws into the corner. It explodes, a smoke bomb, then a second one. Smoke everywhere. The few remaining tourists run for the exit. Type in on the smartphone display. He finds an app called Jewel House. The Queen's crown emblazoned on it, presses it, and our screen suddenly fills with text. Computer code. The on-screen text in this episode are lines and lines and lines of binary computer code. Type in on a circuit board, a digital signal whizzing down the wires. The electrical pulse reaches its destination. Sparks. A metal gate suddenly comes crashing down. Jim presses it again. Another gate, and then another. Interior, Tower of London, security day. The guard saunters back into the security room with his styrofoam cup of tea. Beep, beep, beep. His display panel is lighting up like a Christmas tree. The gates are slamming shut, the laser beams all cutting out. Spills his tea, crashes his cup, and dashes to the phone. Interior, Scotland Yard day. Sergeant Donovan scuttles into the office, looking for Lestrade. Lestrade eating a bun and drinking coffee.
Sir, there's been a break-in.
No to division.
You'll want it.
Interior, 221B Baker Street day. John in his dressing gown, wet hair. Sherlock's mobile beeping madly on the desk. He glances over to see Sherlock working away at his microscope. Just beyond Sherlock, there is apparently a man hanging by his neck from the ceiling, slowly rotating. John barely seems to register this.
That's your phone.
Yes, he keeps doing that.
So, did you just talk to him for a really long time?
As the man rotates, we see it is a dummy.
23 wounds. Only one was lethal. Who struck the lethal blow?
Against who?
Offers a clearly ancient textbook, The Assassination of Julius Caesar.
Oh, pressing case then.
John is heading over to the beeping phone, picks it up.
They're all pressing until they're solved.
But John isn't listening anymore. He's staring at the phone. Oh no, oh God. Interior, Tower of London day. Jim clicks his phone, finds another app labeled Bank of England, picture of a piggy bank, presses it, and digitals. Tied in on a circuit board again. Interior, Bank of England day. The bank director lifts his teacup to his mouth, but then the floor starts to shake ever so gently, You can only see it in the surface of the tea.
The vault. That's the vault.
Spills his tea into his lap. On his computer screen, a warning flashes up. Bank vault, door 1 opening, then door 2 opening, then door 3 opening. Interior police car day. Lestrade and Donovan in the back of the squad car racing to Tower Hill. Donovan on the phone.
Hacked into the Tower of Bloody London's bloody security? How?
Donovan hands him the phone.
Tell them we're already on our way.
No, another one. Another break-in. Bank of England.
On Lestrade. What? Interior 221B Baker Street day. John to Sherlock offers him his phone.
Not now.
Sherlock.
Not now. Busy.
Something in John's tone. Sherlock looks up.
He's back.
Hands it to him, stares at the display. Come and play. Tower Hill. Jim Moriarty. Kiss. Interior Tower of London day. Jim rummages in his pocket again. Another plastic aerosol. He starts spraying something backward on the glass of the jewel case using the aerosol. Surfs the apps again. Finds one labeled Pentonville Prison. Presses it. Tight in again on the circuitry. The electrical pulse. Interior Pentonville day. The prisoner governor's sipping his tea, and then suddenly a siren starts to wail. Tea crashes to the floor. Another warder comes running in.
Sir, security's down, sir. It's failing. The cells are opening.
Which block?
The warder looks white. Can't answer.
Davis, which block?
All of them.
Exterior interior car day. Police car speeding along. Inside Lestrade in the back seat on Donovan's phone. His phone is ringing now. Donovan answers it for him.
Get a team to the Bank of England. Apparently the security system in the vaults has gone down.
Lestrade hangs up. Donovan offers him his own phone.
Oh, what is it now?
Pentonville Prison.
Oh, no.
On Donovan. Oh, yes. Interior jewel house day. Jim finishes his backwards writing on the glass case, takes the gum out of his mouth, sticks it in the middle of the glass, and then from his pocket, he takes a little box. He takes something from it delicately. It's tiny, and sticks it into the gum. As he moves away, we close in on the gum till we see something sparkling at its center, a tiny glittering thing. On a fire extinguisher being swung back, and then Jim slams with sudden shocking violence into the glass, right where the diamond is positioned. The glass now shattering. Interior exterior Tower of London day. Police car screams up at the tower. Lestrade and Donovan leaps out, and they run into the jewel house. Cut to Jim, treading on broken glass, reaches into the jewel case. Cut to SWAT team with electric screwdrivers taking the access panels off the walls.
Come on, open it.
They cut the wires that lead to the vault doors. The metal screens slide up again. The laser beams click back on. Lestrade, Donovan run into the jewel house, and there is Jim, sitting alone, wearing the crown of England, the Queen's ermine-trimmed robe, and carrying the scepter and orb.
No rush.
Music ends. Exterior Tower of London day. Jim led away and bundled into a car by uniformed officers. He doesn't resist. Lestrade has the smartphone, turns it over in his hand, dead. Interior jewel house day. The smashed glass case, the floor glittering with glass, now taped off. A forensic team picking their way through the evidence. Sherlock, John, Lestrade on the other side of the tape, just watching.
Couldn't have been possible. That glass tougher than anything.
Perhaps.
His eyes flicks down as he zeroes in on something. Sherlock's point of view, we zoom in on another piece of glitter in among all the shattered glass. Jim's diamond.
Where is he? Where did you take him? I want Moriarty.
Well, it's mutual.
Interior Tower of London day, jewel house security room. Sherlock, John, and Lestrade. Lestrade winding back the CCTV footage to the point just before Jim smashes the glass. In eerie slow motion, the glass reassembles, and for the first time, we can see the big black letters the right way around. Get Sherlock. To black. Then fade up. Interior 221B Baker Street, day. Full-length mirror, Sherlock dressing, buttoning up his shirt. Cut to a second mirror, John doing the same. Suit and tie, cut between the two of them, dressing. Cut to about to leave, 221B, hands on the door latch.
Ready?
Sherlock nods, and they open their front door to exterior 221 Baker Street, day. Reporters, paparazzi on the front step. Sherlock, 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 this way, this way. A policeman steers them towards an open car door. One of the PAPS is waving a deerstalker. A pap shouts something like, "Oi, give us a shot with the hat on." Doors slam shut and they speed away. Interior squad car, day. Sherlock and John in the back of the car.
Remember,
Yes.
remember,
Yes.
remember what they told you. Don't try to be
No.
clever. Just please keep it simple and brief.
Oh, God forbid the star witness in the trial should come across as intelligent.
Intelligent, fine. Let's give smartass a wide berth.
I'll just be myself.
Are you listening to me?
Exterior Old Bailey, day. TV crews outside the Old Bailey. Jump cut through.
Oh, hype aside, John, is this the trial of the century?
James Moriarty, accused of attempting to steal the crown jewels.
Inspiring to break into the Bank of England.
Breakout orchestrated by
Arrived here with an unprecedented police escort.
Reichenbach hero Sherlock Holmes in the witness box.
TV graphic. A still from the security camera at the tower. Get Sherlock. Interior Old Bailey cell block, day. Clomp, clomp, clomp. 5 pairs of feet through the catacombs of the Old Bailey. 4 pairs of steel-toed DMS. 1 pair of Gucci brogues. Armed police, cans of mace, and the truncheons swinging at their belts. Fully armed, fully ready. Wider now to reveal their prisoner. Jim, handcuffed to 2 of them, 1 on either side. Camera behind it as he ascends the wooden stairs that go up to the dock. Bubbling gossip as he enters. The dock, constructed like a mafia trial, a metal mesh. Jim is cuffed to the chair, 1 each side, turns to one of his captors, the youngest male guard.
Would you mind slipping your hand inside my pocket?
An icy pause. What the hell is this about? The guard looks at his boss, who nods okay, and then he rummages around in Jim's trousers, and Jim looks at him, expressionless, nose to nose. The guard produces a packet of gum, sighs with relief.
Thanks awfully.
Sticks out his tongue to receive the gum. Interior Old Bailey toilet stay. Running water, Sherlock washing his hands. A row of porcelain sinks, the public toilets at the Bailey. In the mirror, there's a woman at his shoulder, 20s, bright smile. This is Kitty Riley. She's wearing a deerstalker and a homemade Sherlock badge. Oh dear.
You're him.
Wrong toilet,
I'm a big fan.
apparently.
I read your cases, follow them all. Sign my shirt, will ya?
Tugs her jacket open, shirt unbuttoned, full on cleavage, offers him a felt pen. He doesn't take it.
There are 2 types of fans.
Oh,
Catch me before I kill again, type A.
uh-huh. And what's type B?
Your bedroom's just a taxi right away.
A little laughter.
Guess which one I am.
Sherlock scans her with lightning speed. Text flash on the screen. Pressure marks, ink, pocket, hem.
Neither.
Really?
Not a fan at all. Those marks on your forearm,
She has a red line on either forearm.
edges of a desk. You've been typing, probably in a hurry, pressing a little too hard under pressure, facing a deadline.
That all?
Well, there's the ink smudge on your wrist and the bulge in your left jacket pocket.
Cut away to the clear outline of a dictaphone in her jacket pocket, and then tied in on the dictaphone itself.
Bit of a giveaway.
Well, the smudge was deliberate to see if I'm as good as they say I am.
He takes her hand, examines the black smudge, sniffs it.
Oil-based, used in newsprint, but drawn with an index finger.
Examines her other hand, a spot of ink on her index finger.
Your finger.
She laughs, can't help it. He really is that good.
Journalist, unlikely you'd have ink from the presses on your hands. You put it there as a test.
Wow, I'm liking you.
You mean I'd make a feature? Sherlock Holmes, the man beneath the hat.
Kitty Riley, pleased to meet you.
He doesn't take her hand.
No. Just saving you the trouble of asking. No, I won't give you an interview. No, I don't want the money.
You and John Watson, just platonic? Can I put you down there for a no then as well?
But Sherlock's leaving.
Oh, come on. There's all sorts of gossip in the press about you. Eventually, you're going to need someone on your side, someone to set the record straight.
And you think you're the woman for the job?
I'm smart, and you can trust me. Totally.
Finds her business card, pops it in his top pocket.
Smart, okay. Investigative journalist, look at me and tell me what you see. If you're so skillful, you won't need an interview. You can simply read everything you need.
Pause. She can't do what he can do. Her face falls, wounded.
No? Okay, my turn. I look at you and I see you're waiting for that first big scoop so your editor will finally notice you. Expensive skirt, but
On her suit,
it's been rehemmed twice. Only posh skirt you've got.
on her hands, chipped nails.
And your nails, you can't afford to have them done that often. I see someone who's hungry. I don't see smart, and I definitely don't see trustworthy.
He reaches into her jacket pocket, the bulge, and takes out her digital voice recorder. Not trustworthy.
But I'll give you a quote if you like. 3 little words.
Into the digital voice recorder,
You repel me.
and he's gone. Out on Kitty, humiliated, angry. Interior courtroom day, Sherlock in the witness box. The prosecuting barrister, a plummy woman in her early 40s, on her feet. The jury all sit in rapt attention. John in the gallery, edge of his seat. A consulting criminal.
Yes.
Your words. Sherlock locks eyes with Jim for just a second. Can you expand on that answer?
James Moriarty is for hire.
A tradesman?
Yes.
But not the sort we'd fix your heating.
No, the sort who'd plant a bomb or stage an assassination.
Muttering in the gallery. Would you describe him as...
Leading.
What?
You're leading me. You can't lead the witness.
He gestures to the defense barrister, a young
You
guy.
see, he'll object. And then the judge will uphold.
Mr. Holmes.
I mean, ask me how. How would I describe him? What opinion have I formed? Did they not teach you this at school?
Mr. Holmes, we're fine without your help.
How would you describe this man, his character? Little smile from Sherlock. She took his advice.
Well, first mistake, Moriarty's not a man at all.
Muttering in court.
He's a spider at the center of a web, a criminal web with 1,000 threads, and he knows precisely how every single one of them dances.
Is Jim smiling? And how long?
Oh, don't go there. You don't want to ask me that. Bad question.
Mr. Holmes.
How long have I known him? Not your best line of inquiry. I met him twice, 5 minutes in total. I pulled a gun. He tried to blow me up. I felt we had a special something.
Murmurs. The witness credibility suddenly a little suspect. The judge looks at the defense barrister, expecting him to seize on this, but he does nothing, so...
Miss Sorrow, are you seriously claiming this man is an expert? After knowing the accused for only 5 minutes.
2 minutes would have made me an expert. 5 was more than ample.
Mr. Holmes, that's a matter for the jury.
Oh, really?
Oh dear, here we go. John rolls his eyes. Sherlock looks at the jury, all taking notes in little notepads. The screen is suddenly flooded with text, a wealth of information describing these 12 people. Teacher, secretary, bond dealer, librarian, tight end. One of them has numbered her pages with a simple indexing system. Sherlock reading it upside down.
1 librarian.
Tight end. 2 of them have put the date at the top of their page and underlined it.
2 teachers.
Tight end. 2 guys who can't keep their pencils still. They twirl them around in their fingers.
2 from high pressure jobs.
Bite marks in the pencil ends.
Probably the city.
Tight end. Female foreman writing in shorthand.
And the foreman's a medical secretary, trained abroad, judging by her shorthand.
Mr. Holmes.
7 are married, 2 having affairs with each other, it would seem.
Tight end. 2 jurors sit close with fingers ends touching.
And they've just had tea and biscuits. Would you like to know who ate the wafer?
Tight end. Pink biscuit crumbs on a lapel.
Mr. Holmes.
John just hangs his head. It's all going so wrong. The press and the gallery are furiously scribbling notes.
You've been called here to answer Miss Sorrow's questions, not to give us a display of your intellectual prowess. Keep your answers brief and to the point. Anything else we treated as contempt. Do you think you could survive just a few minutes without showing off?
On Sherlock. Kenny? Interior cell block day. Jim marched back to the cells, double handcuffed. And 20 paces behind, Sherlock marched there too, in contempt of court. Interior cell block day. Clang, clang. Jim and Sherlock shut in neighboring cells. Silence. Jump cut between the two, listening to the silence, aware that one's arch enemy is in the very next room. Every tiny movement suddenly eloquent. Sound of a scraping chair. Sherlock sits. Jim mirrors it perfectly. The same scraping noise, the same sitting position. Staring at the wall between them, just the sound of their breathing. Hold. Interior cell block day. Sherlock signing for his things. John paid Sherlock's fine.
What did I say? I said, don't get clever.
It's not exactly something I can turn on and off like a tap. Well,
What?
you were up in the gallery. You saw the whole thing start to finish.
Like you said, it would be. Sat on his backside, never even stirred.
Flashback, the courtroom. Jim's defense barrister, not moving, glued to his seat.
Moriarty's not mounting any defense.
And they sweep out. Interior 221B, Baker Street night. Returning to Baker Street, cameras clicking, doors slam. Mrs. Hudson pokes her head out, a new outfit and very bold makeup. Most glam we've ever seen her.
Saw you on the telly. John looked smart.
Lipstick?
In case they catch me through a window. Don't want to do a cherry.
John and Sherlock whistle past her, trudge upstairs. Interior 221B, Baker Street night. John drops into his chair. Sherlock paces.
Okay. Bank of England, Tower of London, Pentonville. 3 of the most secure places in the country. 6 weeks ago, Moriarty breaks in. No one knows how or why. All we know is...
He ended up in custody.
Sherlock looking meaningfully at John.
Don't do that.
What?
The look.
Look?
You're doing the look again.
I can't see it, can I?
Pushes him in front of the mirror.
It's my face.
And it's doing a thing. You're doing the we both know what's really going on here face.
Because we do.
No, I don't, which is why I find the face so annoying.
If Moriarty wanted the jewels, he'd have got them. If he wanted those prisoners freed, they'd be on the streets. The only reason he's sitting in a cell right now is because he chose to be there. Somehow this is part of his scheme.
And something catches his eye. A spider in 221B. It has made a little web above the bookcase. Interior, exterior hotel day. Early morning, plush London hotel. Inside, an armed policeman knocking on doors. One by one, the jury emerged from their hotel rooms. Fleeting shot through an open door. The hotel information service on the TV. Interior courtroom day. Court is in session. John in the gallery. The judge enters and sits. Hush. Addresses the defense barrister.
Mr. Crahill, can we have your first witness?
The young defense barrister clambers to his feet.
Your Honor, we're not calling any witnesses.
An icy pause.
I don't follow. You've entered a plea of not guilty.
Nevertheless, my client is offering no evidence. The defense rests.
And he sits. Lots of murmuring. Jim turns for the very first time and looks straight at John. Gives him a polite smile. It's meant for Sherlock. Interior 221B, Baker Street day. Sherlock in his dressing gown lies on the sofa staring at the ceiling, imagining the judges summing up, guessing the content with a great deal of accuracy.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Interior courtroom day. The judges summing up.
James Moriarty stands accused of multiple counts of attempted burglary.
Jump. Cut between the two.
Crimes which, if he is found guilty, will elicit a very long custodial sentence, but yet
His legal team has chosen to offer
no evidence whatsoever to support their plea.
I find myself in the unusual position of recommending a verdict wholeheartedly.
You must find him guilty.
Guilty.
Interior Old Bailey corridor day. The jury marched to their green room by their police escorts. An officer locks them in with a computer key card and hangs it around his neck. 2 armed police stationed outside. A clock on the wall. 10:44 a.m. Tick, tick, tick. Interior Old Bailey. John outside the courtroom sits alone. Just the tick, tick, tick of his watch. 10:50 a.m. The clerk of the court comes out.
Coming back.
Already?
John glances at his watch.
6 minutes.
Surprised it took him that long, to be honest. There was a queue for the loo.
Interior courtroom day. The jury file into court again. The foreman stands. The clerk of the court addresses her.
Have you reached a verdict on which you all agreed?
The foreman opens her mouth and hard cut to interior 221B Baker Street day. Sherlock on the sofa, eyes closed. His phone buzzes beside him. He was expecting this call. Exterior street day. John in the street.
Sherlock?
What happened?
Not guilty.
Yes, of course.
You were right. No defense. And yet they just let him walk free. Moriarty's disappeared. You think he might come and try to find you?
Sherlock hangs up. Beep.
Sherlock? Sherlock! You still there?
Interior, exterior 221B Baker Street. Street day. Sherlock puts the phone down slowly, goes into the kitchen, kettle, fills it from the tap, on the details, running water, flicking switch, steam rising. Cut to John, dialing his mobile again, Scotland Yard. Cut to Sherlock, opens a cupboard and takes out 2 cups and saucers, teapot, milk jug, the best tea service, laying the tea tray for 2. He's expecting company. Cut to John on the mobile.
Lestrade? John, look, I'm worried. Jim's back on the streets and...
Cut to Sherlock and walks back into the lounge with the tray and puts down on the side table pours 2 cups, takes out his violin and starts to play. a Bach sonata from solo violin, G minor. Interior 221B Baker Street, Hall day. The hall at 221B is dark and shadowy. Someone fiddles with the latch and then it opens. It's Jim. We can just make him out in the dark. Softly closes the door. He can hear Sherlock playing. Starts to climb the stairs, his feet barely making any sound on the stair carpet. Step, step, step. And then the violin suddenly stops. Sherlock knows he is coming. Jim falters for a second, and then the violin begins again, so he carries on walking. Interior 221B Baker Street day. Jim pushes open the door. Sherlock stops, doesn't turn.
Most people knock. But then you're not most people, I suppose. Kettle's just boiled.
You're not going to finish your tune? Johann Sebastian Bach would be appalled.
Indicates the chair.
May I?
Please.
Do you know when he was on his deathbed, Bach, he heard his son at the piano playing one of his ditties. The boy stopped before he got to the end
And the dying man jumped up, rushed to the instrument, and finished it.
couldn't cope with an unfinished melody.
Neither can you, apparently. That's why you've come.
Be honest. You're just a tiny bit pleased.
With the verdict?
With me back on the streets, you need someone to play with, to test you. And every fairy tale needs a good old-fashioned villain.
Fruit bowl. Jim selects the reddest apple of all and starts to polish it on his lapel.
You need me or you're nothing. Because we're just alike, you and I. Except you're boring. You're on the side of the angels.
You got to the jury, of course.
I got to the Tower of London. You think I can't worm my way inside 12 hotel bedrooms?
Takes Sherlock's penknife to peel the apple.
Ah, cable network.
Every hotel bedroom has a personalized TV screen.
Flashback. Foreman in her hotel room, eating room service. TV control in hand, scrolling through a menu. Miss Williams, welcome to the West Hampton Hotel Information Service.
And everyone has a pleasure point.
A photo of the woman's kids suddenly flashes up on screen and a personalized message from Moriarty. If you want your beautiful children to stay beautiful, then follow my instructions.
Someone that they want to protect from harm, easy peasy.
Back to 221B.
So how are you going to do it? Burn me.
I told you how. The final problem. Have you worked out what it is yet?
On Sherlock, he doesn't know, hates that. Jim grins, expectant.
Come on, Cheryl. What's the final problem? I did tell you, honest. But did you listen?
Sherlock, impassive, because damn it, he doesn't know. Jim starts to drum with his fingers on the edge of the chair, an old irregular rhythm. Da 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 da, and then suddenly stops.
How hard do you find it, Sherlock? Having to say, I don't know.
I don't know.
That was clever. That was quite clever, actually. Speaking out of clever, have you told your little friends yet?
Told them what?
What I did? Why I broke into all those places and never took anything?
No,
But you understand.
of course.
On you go then.
You want me to tell you what you already know?
I want you to prove that you know it. Can't trust anyone, can you?
You didn't take anything because you didn't need to.
Good.
You'll never need to take anything again.
Very good. Because?
Because nothing in the Bank of England or the Tower of London could possibly equal the value of a key that could open both.
Bingo. I can open any door anywhere with a few tiny lines of computer code. No such thing as a private bank account now. They're all mine. No such thing as secrecy. I own secrecy. Nuclear codes. I could blow up NATO in alphabetical order. In a world of locked rooms, the man with the key is the king. And honey, you should see me in a crown.
You were advertising.
And you were helping.
The whole trial, you were just showing the world what you could do.
Big client list here. Rogue governments, terror cells, intelligence community. They'll all want me. Sherlock, suddenly I'm Mr. Sex.
If you can break any bank, what do you care about the highest bidder?
I just like to watch them all competing. Daddy's brought a treat home. Aren't ordinary people adorable? Well, that's why you've got John. I should get a live-in one. Must be so funny.
A silence. Sherlock just staring, never quite getting the measure of this man.
Why are you doing all this? Money doesn't interest you. Power doesn't really. So what's it all for?
Solve the problem, Sherlock. Our problem. The final problem.
Siren.
Right on cue. Flatfoot breaks the mood.
Sherlock starts striding to the window. Jim's voice stops him.
It's going to start very soon now, Sherlock. The fall. But don't be scared. Falling's just like flying. Except there's a destination.
Never much liked riddles.
Learn to. Because I owe you a fall, Sherlock Holmes. I owe you.
Voices from outside. Sherlock looks out the window. Sherlock's point of view. Lestrade climbing out of his squad car, running out, John with him. Turns. Jim's gone. The lamp in the kitchen swinging. The door to the bedroom banging. He's gone out the back. Down the fire escape. Lestrade bursts in. John behind.
Moriarty?
Sherlock shakes his head, picks up the apple. Moriarty has carved 3 letters in it with the knife. I owe you. Exterior 221B, roof day. Scene is cut. Fade to black. Caption 2 months later. Exterior street day. Cash point. John queuing at a busy ATM. Finally, it's his turn. Puts his card in and punches his PIN. Unusually long pause, then a personal message on the screen. There is a problem with your card. Please wait a moment. John rolls his eyes, pause. A member of staff will be with you shortly. Thank you for your patience, John. John? Just behind him, a familiar black car pulls up in the street. Exterior street day. Pall Mall. John in the back of the black car. It pulls up outside a London club. A brass plate. The Diogenes Club. See John's reflection in it as he scuttles up the steps. Interior, Diogenes Club Day. A sea of leather chairs, wood paneling, and coffee tables, occupied by a host of men, mostly in chalk pinstripe suits. John looks for someone, can't see him, so he approaches a gentleman at the nearest table.
Excuse me, Mycroft Holmes?
The gentleman blanks him, merely stares at his paper.
Do you know if Mycroft Holmes is about?
The gentleman rustles his paper, but again totally ignores John.
Can you not hear me?
People are getting up out of their chairs and peering over at him, scandalized.
Anyone know Mycroft Holmes? I've been asked to meet him here.
The gentleman turns and scowls at John. The full thunder of the British establishment etched on his furious face, and then he presses a bell on the wall. No sound comes from it.
Am I invisible? Hello?
The muffled sound of running feet. Liveried men come racing in. Their shoes are covered in cloth.
What? I was just asking.
They try to put their hands over their mouth to stop his talking, then drag him away, loudly protesting. The gentleman returns to his paper and sips a glass of whiskey. satisfied that order has been restored. Interior, Diogenes Club Day, a second room, the stranger's room. John and Mycroft. John straightening his clothes after his brush with the staff.
Tradition, John. Our traditions define us.
Total silence is traditional, is it? You can't even say, pass the sugar?
3/4 of the diplomatic service and half of the government front bench all share one tea trolley. It's for the best, believe me.
He stares into space for a moment, shudders.
Don't want a repeat of 1971.
Mycroft leads him to a table by the fire.
We can talk here.
A glass of whiskey and a newspaper already there. John glances at the paper, a red top.
You read this stuff?
Mycroft points at the sidebar.
Caught my eye.
Exclusive in Sunday's paper, Sherlock. Shocking truth about hero sleuth. It's written by Kitty Riley. Picture in the byline.
Sunday, they're doing a big expose.
Love to know where she got her information.
Mycroft points to the subheading, Close friend Richard Brooke tells all.
Someone called Brooke? Recognize the name?
School friend, maybe?
Of Sherlock's.
Mycroft takes the paper and folds it away.
But that's not why I asked you here.
He takes out a cardboard folder, pulls out a photo, a man, stern face, grim features, tattooed neck.
Who's this?
You don't know him?
No.
Never seen his face before.
Maybe he is a bit familiar.
Flat in Baker Street, 2 doors down from you.
I was thinking of doing a drinks thing for the neighbors.
Not sure you'll want to.
Hands John the rest of the file.
Sulajmani, Albanian hit squad, expertly trained killer, living less than 20 feet from your front door.
Great location. Jubilee line's handy.
John,
What's it got to do with me? I didn't ask him to move in, did I?
Mycroft hands John a second file, another photo, a woman.
Dyachenko, Ludmila.
Hang on, I think I have seen her.
Russian killer, taking the flat opposite.
Okay, sensing a pattern here.
Offers 2 more files.
In fact, 4 top international assassins relocate to within spitting distance of 221B. Anything you'd like to share with me?
I'm moving.
Not hard to guess the common denominator, is it?
It's not Moriarty.
He promised Sherlock he would come.
If it was Moriarty, then we wouldn't be here talking. I'd already be dead. Sherlock, too.
If not Moriarty, then whom?
Well, why not talk to Sherlock if you're so concerned for him?
He knows the answer before even asked.
Oh, yeah. Don't tell me.
Too much history between us, John. Old scores, resentments.
Pinched all the Smurfs? Broke his action men?
I know you want to protect him from the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Is that the doctor in you, I wonder? Or something else? The soldier's weakness, solid hero worship?
Are we done?
Gets up to go.
We both know what's coming, John. Moriarty is obsessed. He's sworn to destroy his only rival.
You want me to watch out for your kid brother because he won't accept your help?
If it's not too much trouble.
Exterior 221B Baker Street day. John arrives back at Baker Street, looks at the faces in street. Do any of them look like terrorists or assassins? Commuters and tourists. Suddenly everyone seems suspicious. Cut to, crosses the road to 221B. The front door is wide open and a tradesman is trudging in and out with flat pack boxes. Mrs. Hudson's new kitchen. John smiles at him, then stares down at the mat. There's a red envelope there, not addressed. Is it for them? Picks it up gingerly. rips the top open. Inside, it is filled with breadcrumbs. What? A big handful of breadcrumbs. They slip between his fingers and fall to the floor. A pigeon arrives and starts to peck them. Interior 221 Baker Street Day. John running up the stairs.
Sherlock, something weird.
Goes into the flat. Lestrade and Donovan are there, plus a junior officer.
Oh, what's going on?
Kidnapping.
Rufus Brule, the ambassador to the US.
Isn't he in Washington?
Not him, his children.
What?
Max and Claudette, 7 and 9.
Donovan shows them a photo. Angelic children.
They're at St. Albate's.
Posh boarding place down in Surrey.
School broke up, all the other boarders went home. Just a few kids remained, including those two.
The kids have vanished.
The ambassadors asked for you personally.
The Reichenbach hero.
Different point of view. For the final seconds of the scene, a black and white grainy picture. Point of view, corner of the room behind the cobweb. Is there a hidden camera up there? Exterior Baker Street Day. John and Sherlock climbing into a police car.
And how was Mycroft?
John, confused. How does he know? From the smell?
Leather polish, stale whiskey. He was asking about our new neighbors.
You already know?
I know there are 4 sets of curtains that are closed in broad daylight. Who's behind them is the interesting question.
John looks up. Sure enough, 4 sets of curtains are closed. 4 separate flats in the street. Closer on Sherlock as he looks up at them and then frowns. Something else. Some graffiti on a section of wall, woven into it, quite clearly if you look. 3 letters. I-O-U. On Sherlock, alive to this now. Fascinating.
Here we go.
Sorry, what?
Nothing.
Exterior, school, day, sign, St. Aldate's Preparatory School, 7 to 13, day and boarding. Long gravel drive, rolling grounds, hockey nets, scrum machine, plenty of money flying around. A handful of uniformed police combing the grounds. Cut to Sherlock, John, Lestrade, Donovan, junior officer running up the steps. Miss Mackenzie is a mousy little Scottish schoolmistress, pale, distressed, weeping into her handkerchief, seated. A policeman offers her tea and blanket, the usual routine.
Miss Mackenzie, house mistress. Go easy.
Miss Mackenzie, you're responsible for pupil welfare and let you left this place wide open last night. Are you an idiot, a drunk, or a criminal?
The woman, utter shock. Sherlock now just yanks her blanket off.
Now, quickly, tell me.
The doors and windows were properly bolted. The atrium is monitored by 24-hour CCTV. No one, not even me, went to the rooms last night. You have to believe me.
Sherlock's expression suddenly softens.
I do. I just wanted you to speak quickly. Miss Mackenzie needs to bring it into a bag now.
Interior school corridor, day. A tour of the rooms. Everywhere cold and empty now that the children have gone. In the corridor, a row of big old laundry baskets. Interior dormitory, day. A Victorian-style dormitory, 4 girls. 3 of them have left for the Christmas vacation. Empty cupboards swing open on their hinges. Bare notice boards, drawing pins in rectangular patterns. Claudie Brule's bed is the only one with bedclothes still on it, crumpled from where they had been slept in. A lonely-looking teddy bear tucked in the top. 3 pairs of shoes lined up, 5 blouses in the cupboard, 5 skirts, 5 pairs of regulation socks. Sherlock opens a trunk. Inside it, some children's fiction, stuff a 7-year-old girl would read. Poppy Love and ballet shoes. Something stuck in a red envelope. Sherlock retrieves it. John does not see. A compendium of Grimm's fairy tales. Sherlock lets it fall open at the chapter headings. Reads, frowns, shuts the trunk.
Show me where the brother slept.
Interior, dormitory day, similar room, 4 beds, 3 of them stripped, the 4th recently slept in, 3 pairs of boys' shoes, 5 shirts, 5 pairs of trousers, etc. And some boys' fiction, spy mysteries mainly, a cricket bat with a bottle of linseed oil. Sherlock examines the dormitory room, a door, an old wooden door with a frosted glass panel. He opens it and studies the light outside, watches as the light casts the shadow of his hand onto the glass.
Boy sleeps in that bed every night, gazing at the only light source out in the corridor. He would know every shape, every outline, the silhouette of everyone who stood outside his room.
Okay, so
So someone approaches his door, someone whose shape he doesn't recognize, an intruder.
Flashback, the intruder's silhouette.
And the person has his sister beside him. Maybe even he can make out the outline of a weapon.
Makes a gun shape with his fingers. The shadows fall. Cut between the shape of Sherlock with fingers and the flashback to the real intruder.
What would he do? He'd have only a few precious seconds before they came into the room.
Runs to the bed, lies on it, pretending to be the boy.
How would he use them, if not to cry out?
Leaps up again, goes to the books on the shelf.
This little boy, this particular little boy who reads all these spy books, what would he do?
Picks up the cricket bat, sniffs it, deep breaths, but it doesn't smell. Sniffs the air, shakes a bottle of linseed, half empty.
Get Anderson.
Interior dormitory day in a dialogue and action from scene 63. Ultraviolet lights on stands, forensics led by Anderson, pulling curtains, taping blackout material across the skylights, the room becoming dark and darker on Sherlock and John as they pass deeper into shadow, and finally blackness.
no sign of blood. Why the ultraviolet?
Linseed oil.
The door slams shut, total blackout. Click, on goes the ultraviolet. And there on the wall, written in splashes of oil from the bottle, a giant message picked out in ultraviolet. Help us. A message left by the 10-year-old Max Bruhl. The ultraviolet glow picked out Sherlock's profile. Now, not much use. Doesn't lead us to the kidnapper.
Brilliant, Anderson.
Really?
Yes, brilliant impression of an idiot. Floor.
Camera pans down. There, on the floor, ultraviolet footprints. The boy poured a pool of oil on the ground as well, so that the intruder trod in it. And there are his footmarks, plain as day, alongside those of 2 children. An eerie echo of what went on.
The boy was made to walk ahead of him.
Examining Max Bruhl's footprints. No heel.
On tiptoe?
Indicates anxiety, probably with the gun at his head. The girl was held beside him, dragged sideways. Probably means he had his left arm cradled about her neck.
And that's the end of it. I mean, we don't know where they went from here. It tells us nothing after all.
Right, Anderson, nothing at all, except his shoe size, his height, his gait, and his walking pace.
Lights click on.
Having fun?
Starting to.
Maybe don't do the smiling. Kidnap children.
Cut to Sherlock kneels on the floor, takes a petri dish from his pocket, and starts to scrape the surface of the parquet. Interior cab day. John and Sherlock in a cab.
How did he get past the CCTV if all the doors were locked?
He walked in when they weren't locked.
Stranger can't just walk into a school like this.
Anyone can walk anywhere if they pick their moment. Yesterday, the last day of term, parents milling around, chauffeurs, staff. What's one more stranger among that lot?
Flashback. Parents come to collect their kids, kissing them hello, lugging out suitcases. Camera follows a dark figure through the throng. We do not see his face.
All he had to do was find a place to hide.
Flashback. The corridor. Right outside the room is the laundry basket. Exterior, interior, Bart's laboratory. Day. Establishing shots of Bart's. Sherlock comes striding through the doors of Bart's lab, John in his wake. Molly's there, putting on her coat.
Molly.
Oh, hello. I'm just on my way out.
No, you're not.
Steers her back into the room.
I've got a lunch date.
You'll need to cancel it. You're having lunch with me.
Digs 2 packets of quavers out of his pockets.
Need your help. And in all fairness, I must tell you, it's one of your old boyfriends we're trying to track down. Been a bit naughty.
You think this is Moriarty?
Of course it's Moriarty.
Sorry. Actually, Moriarty was never my boyfriend. We went out 3 times. I ended it.
Yes, and then he stole the crown jewels, broke into the Bank of England, and organized a prison break at Pentonville. For the sake of law and order, Molly, I think it's best if you avoid all future attempts at relationships.
She is horrified. He steers her back into the room and opens her bag of crisps. Interior Bart's laboratory day. Molly's struggling under a huge weight of folders, scientific journals, puts them on the lab bench for Sherlock to read. And Sherlock is engaged with the microscope, scraping a tiny pinch of powder onto a slide.
The oil, John.
What?
The oil. In his footprints, all the chemical traces on his shoe have been preserved. The sole of his shoe is like a passport. If we're lucky, we can see exactly what he's been up to.
Myriad colored grains under the microscope, white, gray, red, green, brown, jump cut through a sequence of experiments as Sherlock and Molly struggle to identify the parts of the compound. Bubbling flasks and dripping pipettes, and Sherlock starts to compile a handwritten list of the compound elements as he recognizes them. On Molly, watching him, rapt, so lost him in. Cut to experiment. 1 yields a white residue in a test tube. Molly, helping, doing a litmus test.
Alkaline.
Sherlock writes, chalk, Cretaceous.
Thanks, John.
Molly.
Yes.
Experiment 2. This one centers on the gray grains, spun in a centrifuge machine, and examines the texture of the residue and writes asphalt. Cut to experiment 3. Fine red grains reacting to a chemical spray. John watching this time. On Molly watching them, the two of them work together. Maybe the tiniest frown. And writes brick dust. 1950s. Cut to 4. Tiny green particles fizzing in a jar. Writes vegetation, 2 types. Rhododendron flower. And the final part of the compound is brownish in oil. And here Sherlock is completely stuck. Writes, adds more and more question marks all the time.
Some sort of glycerol molecule. What are you?
Cut to Molly, now watching Sherlock closely. She's frowning, serious. We can see John some distance away, his back to us, working at something not part of this conversation.
What did you mean, IOU?
Sherlock looks up at her sharply. What?
You said IOU. You were sort of muttering when you were working.
Nothing. Mental note.
He resumes working. Molly, looking at him thoughtfully, summons the courage for another blurt.
You know, you're a bit like my dad. He's dead. No, sorry.
Molly, please don't feel obliged to make conversation. It's really not your area.
But when he was dying, he was always so cheerful. He was lovely. Except when he thought no one could see. I caught him once. He looked so sad.
Molly.
You look sad. When you don't think he can see.
Sherlock, caught off guard. What?
Are you okay? And don't say you are, because I know what that means. Looking sad when you think no one can see you.
You can see me.
I don't count.
That floors him for a moment. Too honest, too true. On Molly now in a blurty rush.
And what I was going to say, if there's anything I can do, anything you need at all, you can have me. No, I mean, I just mean, please, if there's anything you need, it's fine.
Blushing furiously now, staring at the floor.
What would I need from you?
I don't know, but what you should probably say thank you, actually.
Thank you.
And now I'm going to get more crisps. Do you want anything? It's okay. I know you don't.
And off she goes, a picture of humiliation. On Sherlock, almost guilt.
Actually, maybe I could.
I know you don't.
And she's walking away a bit too fast, feet rattling across the floor. She passes behind John. We hold on him. John, studying the forensic photographs of the kids' rooms, looks hard at the pictures of the girls' dormitory. A photograph of the contents of the trunk, the red envelope inside it, the book of fairy tales. And it hits him.
Sherlock,
John crossing to Sherlock now.
that envelope in her trunk. There's another.
What?
Identical, left on our doorstep. I found it today.
Where did he put it? It's stuffed in his jacket pocket. Compares it to the envelope in the photograph. 2 red envelopes. John holds Sherlock in the. John hands Sherlock the envelope, looks inside, sees traces of
Breadcrumbs?
Uh-huh. They were there when I got back.
A trail of breadcrumbs and a little book of fairy tales.
flashback. Sherlock looking at the book, studying it at the school. Chapter heading: Snow White, Ashputel,
Asphodel. It's
Thank
Cinderella.
you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Oh, Cinderella and Hansel and Gretel.
2 children taken out into the forest by a wicked father following a little trail of breadcrumbs.
Hansel and Gretel.
Flashback: a man's hand leaving the book in the trunk. The same man's hand leaving the breadcrumbs on the doorstep.
And it is intermission time. Sorry.
What? You're
The
good.
scrolling backwards.
You're like,
It's going the wrong way.
it was a stylistic choice. It's like a momentary reverb. It's like
All right. I will see you all in 5 minutes ish.
How did I become the host?
Probably because she needed someone else to be the host in case her internet dropped out.
Okay.
And it's probably because you were on next. So it may have automatically did that if she had to drop out at one point and jump back in. So
Okay.
that happened to me last time.
Well, I don't have time to share the script and read.
No, you don't have to do anything. That's just if you happen to leave the room when you're the host, it'll kick us all out. Just so you know. So you'll
Can
have
I
to
come
try.
back?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I hope so too, because I can't be moving the script and reading the script.
Yeah, no, I think her internet probably just dropped out and she'll probably come back in. So
All right.
and you can always make someone else the host if and it doesn't matter who's the host, it's that whether who's sharing their screen, unless only the host can share the screen. So she probably just hit the wrong button when she left for intermission.
Well, if I do have to leave you guys for a little while, I'm definitely going out on a good note. I may, hopefully, fingers crossed, be in for next week, but I'm not sure. So if not, like I said, good note to go out on. So I'll miss you guys for the while that I have to be away from you.
I have to see if Angelina's coming back because she made me the host apparently without telling me.
Okay.
I'm also
Yes,
leaving
I'm
for
gonna
a
send
few
her a little
weeks.
text. So we're just gonna be a minute. I mean, I have the script and I can give it to you, but I also have to read. So there's a conundrum.
What are you up to, Erin, that you're going to be off for a while?
I am going to Hawaii next week.
You going on vacay or like a project or what?
Vacay.
Very cool.
And then my girlfriend is having a surgery, so I'm taking off to take care of her for a while.
Oh, that is
Aww.
romantic.
Yes. But first, fruity drinks with umbrellas in them.
Exactly. And chasing turtles in the water.
Ooh, fun.
All right. I mean, I'll try to do both. Okay, so let me see if I can do both. Okay, let me download the script. Sorry, everyone.
No
I've
problem.
never done this
You're
before.
fine.
Okay, well, I'll at least get the script on the screen. Is it possible to share, like, that somebody else control the screen and scroll, or?
Cat
is
just
offered.
offered, so.
Oh.
Thanks.
Yeah, I could share my screen if you like and scroll. But whoever is sharing the screen is the one that has to do the scrolling because they're in charge of the thing. It doesn't matter who, it doesn't matter.
Oh, here we go. Here's Angelina.
There.
Da, da, da,
It's like
da.
the charge is dropped
Oh,
out.
thank you. I'm sorry for
Yeah.
worrying, but I have to, Lestrade is rather big in this, so I was a little concerned.
Thanks for letting me back in.
I was worried you disappeared, and I was thinking how I was going to do both Lestrade and the screen sharing.
Somehow my computer unplugged while I was, I don't know,
Oh no!
probably shortly after I plugged it in. So. that was-
But thank you, Kat, for offering.
Yes.
Yeah, it would have worked.
It would have been very awkward, but I would have figured it out.
I could, do you want me to go again and you guys can just see how it
No,
works?
you're staying right here.
We can test it out.
Throw
No,
me right to the wolves.
I would like to practice that sort of role first. I think I can do it, but not tonight.
Okay.
The real
Not in the
devious
middle of a
mastermind of
read.
Foolery Tuesday,
just-
Angelina Peterson. Dun, dun, dun.
Just realized this
not
is
in the
all
middle of
female
a read,
Sherlock.
please.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
And it's Peter had work he forgot about.
Oh, you're fine.
So
Oh, well,
Erin,
we
what'd you
miss
say?
you, Peter.
I said, I just realized it was an all-female Sherlock.
Right.
Gender
to say
flip, baby.
non-male.
Gender flip. Love it.
Yeah.
Oh, during COVID, I played male roles and actually cross-dressed when I was doing the Zoom plays, so it's fine.
yeah.
We may be
We've
the
all done
first
it. Morgan's been my
female.
love interest, like, what, 4 times? 3? At least.
I've
Couple
heard
times at least.
gender is a construct anyways, so
Yes.
Just-
Exactly.
I actually look rather good dressed as like a Shakespearean man. You should see the pictures. Oh, do I need to return host duties?
oh probably.
How do I do
Probably.
that?
Just the 3 dots to where it says more or around there, there's 3 dots, and if you press on that, it will go to
Oh, there we go. Yes.
yeah, there you go. Thank you. I
Are
knew
you
you
going to be co-host in case you drop again?
Yep, you're there.
Okay.
And now you know how to do that, and you let me in. So well done. High fives.
Well, because I host a diversity group once a month, so I do know how to set up Zooms and things like that.
Yeah, I
I've been
figured
doing that since
have it, no
2021, so
Yeah.
I know
So,
Zoom
good
basics,
pen.
just not the advanced stuff.
You were all good. Okay. How is everyone? Everyone ready?
Yep.
Okay. Everyone.
In the words of SpongeBob, I'm ready.
All right. Flashback, and I will scroll. There we go. We're at John.
What sort of kidnapper leaves clues?
The gym sort. The sort that likes to boast. The sort that treats it like a game. He sat in the flat and said those exact words to me.
Flashback. Jim at 221B.
Every fairy tale needs a good old-fashioned villain.
Tied in on the red apple. Back to present. Sherlock's face changes. Eureka! Suddenly knows what he's missing.
The fifth substance. It's a part of the fairy tale. The witch's house.
What?
The glycerol molecule. PGPR.
What's that?
It's used in making chocolate.
Interior darkroom day. Candlelight illuminating sweetie wrappers. Colored foil, gold and silver, the sound of chewing and gorging. Camera sweeps across the room through the shadows, passes a locked door. All over the floor, bags and bags of sweets, and the shadows of two children eating. Interior Scotland Yard, incident room day. Sherlock walks into the incident room at Scotland Yard. The place is buzzing. Lestrade shows him a fax.
Fax arrived about an hour ago.
Says, hurry up, they're dying.
What have you got for us?
Sherlock produces a list he wrote.
We need to find a place in or around the city where these 5 things intersect.
On the list, the chemicals on the kidnapper's shoes. Chalk, crustaceous, asphalt, brick dust, 50s, vegetation, 2 types, chocolate. Tidy in on chocolate.
What the hell is this? Chocolates?
I think we're looking for some sort of disused sweet factory.
Lestrade clicks his fingers and his junior officer goes scuttling off to serve the web. Tidy in on asphalt. Lestrade picks up the list.
Asphalt?
No good, not specific enough.
Tied in on chalk, crustaceous.
Chalk, though. Chalky clay. It's a very thin band of geology.
Cut away to an imaginary map of London in Sherlock's mind. A big colored stripe for the chalky geology. Tied in on brick dust.
Brick dust?
Building site. Bricks from the 1950s.
There's thousands of building sites in London.
I've got people out looking.
So have I.
His phone pings. Someone has texted him with a picture of a building site, and then it pings again. Another, and another, and another. Lestrade sprints over to the computers to urge them on. Sherlock looks carefully at the photos. Again, we flash to the imaginary map in his mind. The various building sites start to appear on it as colored dots. Cut to, on the clock, time passing. Lestrade and his team hammering away on the internet, trying to find sweet factories and building sites. Sherlock's phone pings again, gazes at it.
John, look at this one. Rhododendron ponticum.
Tied in on vegetation.
Exactly the same type of vegetation.
On the imaginary map, highlights one of the building sites in a new color. All the shaded area can coincide.
Addlestone.
What?
There's a mile of disused factories between the river and the park. It matches everything.
Exterior factory dusk. Dusk light. And a big, ugly 1950s factory building. A sign says, Drayton Confectionery. Camera in a high window looks down on squad cars arriving. Lestrade, Sherlock, Donovan, John, junior officer, scattering in all directions. The hunt is on for Hansel and Gretel. Torches click on. Interior, exterior factory dusk. Torches shine across a disused factory floor. Machinery laced with cobwebs linger on the cobwebs. The dancing beam picks up on details, machines, a stack of old crates stamped with the names of chocolate bars. A torch finds the foot of a staircase, travels up the dusky stairs to an upper gallery, a door. Cut to Sally Donovan searching through the scrubland. Cut to door crashing open, kicked down by the junior officer, wooden splinters. They all shine their torches inside. It's a disused accounting office, broken furniture, and there's a strange metallic glare from one corner. The floor is absolutely littered with sweet wrappers.
He fed them sweets.
No one here. A few candles in a saucer burned down. Sherlock puts his hand over them.
All right, 30 minutes ago. A light 30 minutes.
A broken floorboard. The gap looks just big enough for a child to squeeze through. Air is coming through. A tiny strand of fiber caught on a nail, blowing in the breeze, white fiber, school shirt.
Hansel and Gretel got away.
Cut to scrubland. Sally Donovan peering through the darkness. She swears she can hear something moving, rustling. Cut to Sherlock examines the sweet papers, lifts one to his face, sniffs it, and then licks it. Ew.
Mercury.
What?
The papers, they're painted with mercury, lethal the more of the stuff they ate.
It was killing them.
Not enough to kill on its own, but taken in large quantities eventually would have killed them. He didn't have to be here for the execution. He could be 1,000 miles away. Murder by remote control. The hungrier they got, the more they ate, the faster they died. It's kind of neat.
Sherlock.
Sobbing louder and louder. Sally peers through the darkness with her torch and sees something in the trees on her face.
Oh my God.
Two little children, a boy and a girl, faces smeared with chocolate and toffee. The boy lying in his sister's lap. Is he unconscious? Interior Scotland Yard corridor, night.
Right then. The professionals have finished. If the amateurs want to go in and have their turn.
Sherlock and John on their way out. He stops them.
Remember, she's in shock, and she's 7 years old. Anything you can do to...
Not be myself?
Yep, might be helpful.
Interior Scotland Yard, in interview room, night. Sherlock, John, Lestrade, Donovan enter the interview room. Claudie Rule, a social worker, holding her hand and administering cocoa. She's come through a terrible ordeal, eyes fixed on the carpet, won't speak.
Claudette.
Claudie looks up and starts screaming. screaming, utterly hysterical, points at Sherlock and screams for her life, wild and uncontrollable, something about him.
Out! Get out!
Sherlock quickly ushered away. On Donovan, watching him go, she looks between Claudie and Sherlock. What was that? What? Interior Scotland Yard, night. Lestrade's office. Sherlock, John, Lestrade, Sally, Donovan, and through the internal windows, small groups of officers gossiping in corners about what just happened. Sherlock silent, standing with his back to the others, staring out of a window, frowning, haunted.
Doesn't make any sense.
Kid's traumatized. Something about Sherlock reminded her of the kidnapper.
On Sally, she's also deep in thought, but registers what Lestrade just said and glances toward Sherlock standing at the window. Closer on Sherlock, he doesn't turn, but his eyes flick to Donovan, reflected in the window in front, staring at his back appraisingly. As she glances away, we roll focus and to see a row of 3 darkened windows in the building opposite, and painted on each letter, spelling out IOU. Sherlock now staring, neck prickling moment. Behind him, the conversation has been continuing.
What's she said?
Hasn't uttered another syllable.
And the boy?
Unconscious, still in intensive care.
On Sherlock, staring at those letters. And is that a shadowy figure moving in the room beyond? Lestrade drags him from his reverie.
Oh, well, don't let it get to you. I always feel like screaming when you walk into a room. In fact, so do most people.
He starts leading the way out. Sherlock makes to follow, but Donovan, still at the table, speaks up.
Brilliant work you did, finding those kids from just a footprint. Really amazing.
Thank you.
He makes to the door.
Unbelievable.
Sherlock hesitates in the doorway and then, without turning to look at her, just heads on. As he clears frame, we're left with a shot of the 3 IOU windows across the street. A man standing at the central window, staring through the oval of the O. Exterior street day, John and Sherlock hailing a cab.
You okay?
Thinking. This is my cab. You get the next one.
Why?
You might talk.
He's already climbing into the cab. Interior Scotland Yard incident room, night. Donovan enters the incident room, shuts the door, switches on the light. The evidence still spread across the table, the note in Sherlock's handwriting, the 5 chemical traces. We can see the cogs turning in his mind. A voice from the door, Lestrade standing there.
Problem?
Interior cab day. Sherlock in the back of the cab, lost in his own thoughts, dark and so troubled. There's light flickering on his face. He glances towards it. Sherlock's point of view, it's one of the cabs with the telly. The sound is turned down, but it's some kind of Jackanory styled kids show. There are illustrations of knights in armor fighting dragons, and there's a storyteller sitting in a big chair.
Could you turn that off, please?
But the cabbie, talking away on the phone, not listening, irritated, Sherlock's eyes flash back to the screen. And now he's staring. On screen, closer on the storyteller on the screen, it's Jim Moriarty. Sherlock now scrambling to find the volume control. Interior Scotland Yard incident room night. Lestrade, Donovan.
A footprint. That's all he had. A footprint.
Well, you know what he's like. CSI Baker Street.
Our boys couldn't have done it.
That's why we need him. He's better.
That's one explanation.
What's the other?
Interior cab night. Sherlock just staring at the screen, the impossible screen. Jim talking away from his storyteller's armchair.
Sir Beaustelot was bravest and cleverest knight at the Round Table. But soon the other knights grew tired of his stories, and brave he was, and how many dragons he'd slain. And soon some of them even began to wonder if all Sir Beaustelot's stories were true.
On Sherlock's face, what? What? Interior Scotland Yard, incident room, night. Lestrade and Donovan.
Only he could have found that evidence. And then the girl screams her head off when she sees him. A man she's never seen before. Unless she had seen him before.
What's your point?
You know what my point is. You just don't want to think about it.
Lestrade's mobile rings. He answers.
Lestrade,
Covers the phone.
Chief Super. Talk later.
She turns on her heel, starts stalking out.
Sir?
As he listens, his eyes drift to all the evidence. Over this, we hear Jim's storytelling voice, perhaps even intercutting with his face on the screen.
And so a knight went to Arthur and told him they didn't believe all the Sir Beaustelot stories. And after a while, even the king began to wonder.
We have now close in on Lestrade's troubled face. Interior cab night on Jim's on screen.
But that wasn't the end of Sir Beaustelot's problem. No, that wasn't the final problem.
And the screen clicks off because the cab has stopped. The driver has already slammed down the window, awaiting payment.
Wait a minute. What was that?
He's now tearing out of the cab. Exterior street night and racing round to the driver's window.
What was it?
And he realizes the cab driver is Jim Moriarty.
No charge.
And he roars off, taking off at top speed. Sherlock, racing after him now, doesn't see a car coming towards him fast. The driver texting someone, not noticing Sherlock. Sherlock is about to be hit with the full force, the car rushing at him, and then someone steps out of nowhere and saves him. He lies there on the pavement with his rescuer, a burly, shaven-head man with a tattooed neck, lying right on top of Sherlock in the street. Slowly, they dusk themselves off and stand.
Thank you.
Sherlock clasps his hand warmly, and as he does, the shaven-headed man suddenly gets shot in the back, twice. No, 3 times. From 3 different directions. Bang, bang, bang. He slumps into Sherlock's arms, bleeding. What the hell just happened here?
Sherlock!
John, climbing out of another cab, now racing towards him. Interior Scotland Yard incident room, night. Darkness. Donovan at a computer. She's playing the CCTV tape of Claudie Rule. In the movie, Sherlock enters the room and she starts to scream. Scream, scream, scream. Freeze frame on her screaming face. And then a knock at the door. Anderson enters. Got your text?
Something I need you to see.
Exterior 221B, Baker Street, night. Sherlock and John. Blue light flashing, ambulance taking the body away. John recognizes the tattoo on the neck of the dead man.
Sulej, something. Sulejmani, that was it. Mycroft showed me this whole big fat file. Albanian gangster living 2 doors down from us.
He died because I shook his hand.
What?
He saved my life, but he couldn't touch me. Why?
Jumps up and heads back to the flat. John scuttling after. Interior 221 Baker Street, Hall, night. Sherlock runs in, excited. John after.
4 assassins living on our doorstep. They haven't come here to kill me. They've come to keep me alive.
Interior 221B, Baker Street, night. Sherlock runs in, sits down in front of his laptop.
I've got something that they all want, but whoever approaches me.
The others kill him before you can get it.
Sherlock and John at the computer, checking the Wi-Fi networks list. New networks available. Some of them have names in other languages. Russian, Albanian, Czech.
There's a surveillance web centering on us right now.
What have you got that's so important?
On Sherlock. No idea. He runs his finger across the table and stares at the layer of dust. Dust.
We need to ask about the dusting.
On John? What? Scene 87 cut. Interior Scotland Yard night. Donovan and Anderson come to see Lestrade together.
No, no way.
Oh, just hear Sally out, would you?
He saves them in the nick of time, covered himself in glory.
You're not seriously suggesting he's involved?
I think we have to entertain the possibility. Oh, it was a setup. He abducted those kids, left the whole trail of evidence.
He's solved dozens of cases for us in the past. Why would he stay to host one?
Got an image to maintain. She tosses a newspaper across to him. Kitty's byline. Exclusive in Sunday's paper. Sherlock. Shocking truth about hero sleuth. Close friend Richard Brooke tells all.
We'll have to question him at least.
Beat. Lestrade.
Okay, I'll do it.
Interior 221B Baker Street night. Sherlock and Mrs. Hudson are doing an inventory of the dusting, examining every nook and cranny.
Precise details. The last week, what's been cleaned? Angelina.
And Mrs. Hudson said,
Thanks. Well, Tuesday I did your lino.
No, here, this room. This is where we'll find it. Any breaks in the dust layer. They can put anything back but dust. Dust is eloquent.
A knock at the door. John goes to answer.
What's he on about?
John shrugs.
Cameras. We're being watched.
What? There's cameras here? I'm in my nightie.
He thinks he's found me. The top bookshelf. Something has wiped the dust away. Eureka! A little camera up there. Point of view camera. Sherlock up close, playing with it. John appears with Lestrade.
No, Inspector.
What?
No, that's the answer.
You haven't heard the question.
You want me to come down to the station? I'm just saving you the trouble of asking.
Sherlock?
The screen.
Yes. Look.
Who was it? Donovan? Bet it was Donovan. Am I somehow responsible for the kidnapping? Oh, Moriarty's very smart. He put that doubt in her head, that little nagging sensation. You'll have to be very strong to resist it.
Look.
A man who could corrupt a jury, making a girl scream, was amateur hour. He's got inside your heads. Very clever. How do you kill an idea? You can't, not once it makes a home there.
Will you come?
One photograph. That's the next move.
What?
Moriarty's game. First the scream, then I'm photographed being taken in for questioning. He wants to destroy me inch by inch. He's going to turn me into a fraud, probably using the press.
On John, genuine concern.
It's a game, Lestrade, and it's not one I'm willing to play. Not when I've got a proper mystery on my doorstep.
Hits a button on his laptop. He's managed to hack into the signal from the surveillance camera. The screen shows them all standing there right now. Exterior 221B Baker Street, night. Lestrade leaving the building, climbs into his car. Donovan and Anderson are sitting there, waiting for him. Lestrade shakes his head. Interior 221B Baker Street, night. John peeping out of the curtains at the car below. It drives off. Sherlock at the computer, trying to hack into more surveillance cameras.
He'll be deciding
Deciding?
whether to come back with a warrant and arrest me.
You think?
Standard procedure.
You should have gone with them. People will think.
I don't care what people think.
You'd care if they thought you were stupid or wrong.
No, because that just means they're wrong or stupid, doesn't it?
Sherlock, I don't want the whole world believing you're
What? That I'm what?
a fraud.
Beat.
You're worried they're right.
What?
You're worried they're right about me.
No.
That's why you're so upset. You don't even want to entertain the possibility. You're afraid you've been taken in as well.
No, no way.
Moriarty is playing with your mind too. Can't you see what's happening?
Silence. An uncomfortable standoff.
I know you're for real.
100%.
Yes, nobody could fake being such an annoying bastard all the time.
A little smile from Sherlock. Interior Scotland Yard, Chief Super's office, night. Lestrade, Donovan, Anderson, in with the Chief Super. He leans back in his chair, frowning.
Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes? Lestrade, speak up.
Heather, you're
You're
muted.
muted.
Yes, sir.
That bloke has been in the press.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was just some sort of private eye,
He is.
but we've been consulting him. That's what you're telling me. We haven't been using him for any proper cases, though, have we?
An eloquent pause.
We haven't let him near any crime scenes or anything.
1 or 2.
Or 20 or 30.
What?
I wasn't the only senior officer who did it. Gregson called him in for that triple murder. Evan let him take some of the evidence home with him.
So, an amateur detective given access to all sorts of classified information, and now he's a suspect in a case. Do you have any idea what this looks like?
Sir,
You bloody idiot, Lestrade. Bring him in. Right now. Do it.
They don't move. Corridor, Lestrade, Anderson, Donovan leaving side by side.
Proud of yourselves?
What if it's not just this case? I mean, what if he's done this to us every single time? They hurry out to arrest Sherlock. Lestrade hangs back and dials his mobile. Interior 221B, Baker Street, night. John hangs up his phone.
Still got some friends on the force. Lestrade says they're all coming here right now. They'll be queuing up to slap the handcuffs on every single officer you've ever made feel like a tit, which is a lot of people.
Knock at the door. Mrs. Hudson.
Oh, sorry. Am I interrupting? Oh, some chap delivered a parcel. I forgot, marked perishable. I had to sign.
Offers him a padded envelope, a red padded envelope.
Funny name. German, like the fairy tales.
Sherlock stares at John. They both know the significance, grabs a note from Mrs. Hudson and studies it. Sherlock rips it open. Inside, a gingerbread man, overdone, blackened at the edges.
Burnt to a crisp.
What's it mean?
Bang, bang, bang on the door. Mrs. Hudson runs down to answer. Blue lights flashing at the window. The police have come. Interior 221B, Baker Street, night. Lestrade leading the team, speaking with no enthusiasm. Mrs. Hudson is in tears.
Sherlock Holmes, I'm arresting you on suspicion of abduction and kidnapping.
John loses it big time as they try to drag his friend away.
Sherlock!
All right.
No way! It's ridiculous!
Get him downstairs now.
John tries to intervene.
Don't try to interfere or I'll arrest you too.
And Sherlock is dragged downstairs. John left in the room with Sally Donovan. Silence, and then...
I said it. First time we met.
Don't.
Solving crime won't be enough. One day he'll cross the line. Ask yourself, what kind of man would kidnap those kids just so he can impress us all by finding them?
Door opens. The chief super walks in, come to survey the scene. Doesn't see John behind him.
Donovan. Sir? Got our man? Yes, sir. Looks like a bit of a weirdo, if you ask me. Often are these vigilante types.
Studies the flat, the skull on the mantelpiece, grunts contemptuously. John is glaring at him.
What are you looking at?
Exterior 221B, Baker Street, night. Sherlock outside by the police van. Armed support unit. The chief super has pulled out all the stops for this arrest, just as John predicted. The front door opens and John is bundled out.
Joining me?
Uh-huh. Apparently it's against the law to chin the chief superintendent.
A policeman handcuffs them together, and the chief super comes out with a handkerchief pressed to his lip.
Bit awkward, this.
No one to bail us out.
Oh, I was thinking more about our imminent daring escape.
Did John just hear that correctly?
What?
Sherlock reaches into the open police car, John too, because they're cuffed together, and turns up the volume on the radio unit. There's a spare earpiece on the dashboard. He holds it next to the speaker. All the armed officers wearing earpieces suddenly cringe in pain. The feedback is deafening. Sherlock grabs a gun, turns it on them.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you could all please kneel.
All the officers turn and stare. Lestrade, Donovan, the chief super. Sherlock pulls back the trigger.
Now would be good.
They all comply.
Just so you're aware, the gun's his idea. I'm just,
My hostage.
Yeah, okay. Hostage works.
Whispers to Sherlock.
What happens now?
I do what Jim wants. Become a fugitive.
Exterior street, night. Sherlock and John running through the back alleys, cuffed together so they have to hold hands.
Now they'll definitely talk.
Exterior street night. John and Sherlock running through the city at night, darting through the shadows, cuffed together. Sherlock scrambles over a fence,
Sherlock, wait!
but he can't wait. He dives over the fence fast, and they're left hanging there, one either side, face to face.
We're gonna need to coordinate.
They sink down in an alley, panting. A police car zooms past, searching for them.
Everyone wants to believe it. That's what makes it so clever. A lie that's more appealing than the truth. All my brilliant little deductions were a sham. No one feels inadequate. Sherlock's just an ordinary man.
What about Mycroft? He could help us.
Big family reconciliation, not really the moment.
John thinks he spots someone in the shadows.
Sherlock, there's someone behind us.
Yes,
In the shadows. The police have found us.
it's not the police. They couldn't get a tail on us that fast. It's one of our new neighbors from Baker Street. Well, maybe he'll be able to give us some answers.
And he darts from the shadows, dragging John with him.
Where are we going?
We are jumping in front of that bus.
Drags John up, and they run into a busy road. They're caught side by side in the headlights of an oncoming double-decker. Suddenly, a dark man sprints from the shadows, all dressed in black, hooded. He grabs him, pulls him back to the pavement. Sherlock seizes the opportunity, reaches into the man's jacket, and pulls out a gun, aims it straight at him.
What is it you want from me?
Cocks the trigger.
Tell me.
He left it at your flat.
He.
Moriarty,
What?
the computer key code.
Beat.
Oh, of course. He's selling it. The program he used to break into the tower. He planted it when he came over.
Gunshot. Someone has just shot the dark man in the back. 2 shots. They see a police car coming and make a run for it again. Exterior street night. Sherlock and John at a late night kebab van.
I mean, it's a game changer. The ultimate key. It can break into any system, and it's sitting in our flat right now.
Flashback. Get Sherlock written in big black letters on the glass of the Tower of London.
That's why he wrote the message, telling everyone where to come. Get Sherlock.
Flashback. Jim sitting with his apple at 221B.
We have to get inside the flats and search.
CID will be camped out. Why plan it on you?
Another subtle way of smearing my name, of course. Now I'm best pals with all those criminals.
A news van drops a stack of papers outside a doorway. Another advert for Kitty's story.
Seen this?
Rips the page out.
Kiss and tell. Some bloke called Brooke. Rich Brooke. Who is he?
Sherlock, as if he has suddenly been hit over the head.
I don't think you've ever mentioned him.
Exterior, interior, suburban street, flat night. Car parking in a suburban street. A woman jumps out and locks it. Kitty. Goes to her front door, raises the key to the lock, but the door swings open of its own accord. OMG. Someone has broken into her flat. She pushes the door gently. It creaks open and peers inside. No sign of anyone. No evidence of a disturbance. Into the lounge, switches on the light. Sherlock and John are sitting there in the darkness, still handcuffed. Sherlock holds the business card she gave him.
Too late to go on the record?
Interior flat night. Sherlock, Kitty, John in Kitty's flat. She has given them a hairpin. Sherlock releases the handcuffs.
Congratulations. The truth about Sherlock Holmes. Everyone wanted the scoop and you get it. Bravo.
I gave you your opportunity. I wanted to be on your side, remember? You turned me down, so
So I did, and then lo and behold, someone else steps up to spill the beans. How utterly convenient. Who's Brooke?
She shrugs. Dunno.
Oh, come on, Kitty. You don't trust a voice at the end of a telephone. There were furtive little meetings in cafes, sessions in hotel rooms where he gabbled away into your dictaphone.
Her silence is assent. Sherlock is quite right.
How'd you know you could trust him? Man turns up with the Holy Grail in his pocket. What were his credentials, I wonder?
Behind them, the front door bangs, and coming into the room with bags of shopping is Jim Moriarty. but different. And different accent, different voice, different manner.
Couldn't get any ground coffee, so I got some instant. I prefer instant, don't you?
He sees John and Sherlock and jolts to a halt, drops to shopping.
Oh my God.
Moriarty?
Wouldn't find me. You said I'd be safe here.
You are safe, Richard. I'm a witness. He wouldn't harm you in front of witnesses.
What? He's your source? Moriarty? He's Richard Brooke?
Of course he's Richard Brooke. There is no Moriarty. Never have been.
What? Sorry, what?
On Sherlock, impassive. This is worse than he thought. Kitty has picked up a copy of Spotlight, tosses it to John.
Look him up. In Spotlight, Rich Brooke, an actor Sherlock Holmes hired to be Moriarty.
Dr. Watson, I know you're a decent man. Please don't hurt me.
You're Moriarty. We met, remember? You were going to blow me up.
I'm sorry. He paid me. I was out of work, needed the money. I'm sorry.
Sherlock, explain. I'm not getting it.
Well, I'll be doing the explaining. In print.
Tosses him a copy of her story, a proof of what will be in the paper.
It's all there. Conclusive proof. You invented James Moriarty, your nemesis.
Invented him?
Mm-hmm. You invented all the crimes, actually. And to cap it all off, you made up a master villain.
That's... don't be so bloody stupid.
Huh, ask him. He's right here. Just ask him. Tell him, Richard.
Oh, for God's sake, this man was on trial.
Yes, and you paid him. Paid him to take the rap. Promised you'd rig the jury. Not exactly a West End role, but I bet the money was good. But not so good he didn't want to sell a story.
I'm so sorry. I really am.
John looks between them, utterly amazed.
And that's what you're publishing on Sunday. That's the big conclusion to the story. Moriarty is an actor.
But you know I am. I can prove it. Kitty, show them.
She opens a folder on her laptop, a folder of articles about Brooke, birth certificate, CV, reviews of plays that he's been in. Can we have some pictures of Jim in tights playing Hamlet? Jim has really done a thorough job inventing himself.
You must have seen me. I was on that kid's show. I was the storyteller. It's on DVD.
He points to a picture from the storyteller show.
Sherlock, just tell him. It's all coming out anyway. It's all over.
On Sherlock, a flash of anger in those eyes, now stepping forward to Jim. Jim cowers back, truly frightened.
Don't you hit me. Don't you dare lay a finger on me.
Oh, enough of this. Stop it. Stop it right now.
Jim staring at him, appalled but fascinated.
Jesus, look at you. It's like you think it's all real. Just how mad are you?
Mad enough to invent his own supervillain so he could look good? Dr. Watson, please just think about it. An arch enemy, a master criminal. How real does any of this seem to you? Who's the one man who could make this stuff up?
On John, almost like he's rocked for a moment, and then Jim is bolting for it, racing for the hall, slamming into the bathroom, Sherlock racing after him. Doors locked, kicks it once, twice, the door slams open. Jim is gone. John leaps towards the window. Sherlock holds him back.
He'll have backup.
Kitty is behind them in the hallway.
Do you know what, Sherlock Holmes? I look at you now, and I can read you. And you repel me.
Sherlock striding past her now. Exterior suburban street night. Sherlock striding from Kitty's flat, John catching up.
Did he do it? Change his whole identity?
Close on Sherlock's face, he blinks, thinking, memory slamming into his mind. Flash, Jim on the screen in cab. Flash, Jim as the cabbie. Flash, the distant figure of Jim staring through the oval of the O on the window. Flash, Sherlock in Baker Street, turning to see that Jim has vanished.
Make you the criminal?
Sherlock holds the copy Kitty has given him.
It's got my whole life story. That's how you sell a big lie. You wrap it up in truth to make it palatable.
John takes it, reads.
It'll be your word against his.
Which is why he's just spent 24 hours sowing doubts in people's minds. The only thing that could make him his game complete now would be...
Freezes, deep in thought, eyes wide. He's just realized how this is going to end.
Sherlock?
Go home. There's something I need to do.
What? Can I help?
No. Go home.
And he's walking off into the night. Interior, Bart's night. Molly, finishing her shift very late, hangs up her coat in her locker, and she becomes aware that she's not alone. There's someone in the shadows watching. She stiffens in utter fright.
Who's that? Who's there?
That familiar voice.
You're wrong, you know. You do count.
Sherlock Holmes stepping from the shadows.
You have always counted, and I have always trusted you, but you were also right. I am not okay.
Tell me what's wrong.
Molly, I think I'm going to die.
Beat. She remembers their conversation from before.
What do you need?
Sherlock, stepping closer, his face pained, troubled.
If I wasn't everything you think I am, everything I think I am, would you still want to help me?
What do you need?
A silence. Another step closer.
You.
Exterior, London street night. Pall Mall. Brass plate. The Diogenes. Interior, Diogenes Club night. Very late. Dim lights. Mycroft arrives in the stranger's room at the club, sits down at his regular place, and John is there waiting for him in the high back chair.
John.
John hands Mycroft the proof of Kitty's story. Long pause whilst Mycroft reads.
She's really done her homework, Miss Riley. Stuff that only someone close to Sherlock could know.
Ah,
Have you checked your brother's address book lately? 2 names, yours and mine. And Moriarty didn't get this stuff from me, so
John.
how does your relationship work? You two get together for a coffee now and then? You and Psycho Boy?
Now, John.
Your own brother. Your only brother. And you blab about his whole bloody life to that maniac?
I never intended. I never dreamed.
This is what you were trying to tell me, isn't it? Watch his back because I've made a mistake. How do you meet him?
People like James Moriarty. We watch them. Oh, we watch them. We know about them. The most dangerous criminal mind in the world has ever seen. And in his pocket, the ultimate weapon too. A key code. A few lines of computer code that can unlock any door.
You abducted him to try to get the key code.
Interrogated him for weeks.
And?
He wouldn't play along. Just sat there, staring into the darkness.
Flashback to Jim in a cell, surrounded by men in gray suits. His interrogators, his eyes closed.
The only thing that made him open up.
In the flashback, Mycroft enters the cell, and Jim's eyes flick open like a reptile. Stares. Back to the Diogenes.
I could get him to talk. Just a little, but
In return, you had to offer him Sherlock's life story.
Silence.
One big lie. Sherlock's a fraud. People will swallow it because it's wrapped up in all these truths. Moriarty wanted Sherlock destroyed, and you've given him the perfect ammunition.
He makes to go.
John,
John turns.
I'm sorry. Tell him, would you?
John stalks out. Interior, Bart's night. John comes back to Bart's to find Sherlock sitting in the dark, a squash ball in his hand, bouncing it around.
Got your message.
That computer code is the key to this. We find it, we can use it, beat Moriarty at his own game.
What do you mean use it?
He created a false identity.
Oh, you mean go into those records and destroy Brooke? Bring Jim Moriarty back again?
Somewhere in 221B, somewhere, on the day of the verdict, he left it hidden.
Flashback. Jump cut through a sequence of memories. Jim arriving in the flat, Jim sitting in the chair, Jim eating the apple.
What did he touch?
An apple, nothing else.
Did he write anything down?
No.
Sherlock screws his eyes shut, thinks. He starts drumming his fingers on the arm of the chair. Suddenly his eyes flash open. He looks furtively around at John and takes out his phone. Finds a text from Jim from months ago. Chooses reply. Come and play. Bart's Hospital, rooftop. SHPS. Got something of yours you might want back. Send. Interior Bart's laboratory, day. Later. Dawn is breaking. Sherlock playing with the squash ball. John's phone buzzes.
Hello? Yes, I'm John Watson. Yes? What?
John's face falls. It's bad news.
Is she okay? What happened? Oh God, I'm coming. Okay, I'm coming now.
He hangs up.
What is it?
Paramedics. Mrs. Hudson, she's been shot.
What? How?
I don't know. One of those bloody contract killers that you've managed to attract. Jesus, she's dying, Sherlock. Come on.
He dashes to the door.
You go. I'm busy.
Busy?
Thinking. I need to think.
You've got to... Doesn't she mean anything to you?
She's my landlady.
She's dying, you bloody machine.
He despairs.
Oh, sod this. You stay here if you want to. On your own.
Alone is what I have. Alone protects me.
Friends protect people.
Sherlock shrugs. John looks at him with utter disgust, then grabs his coat and rushes out. Sherlock's mobile beeps. Message says, waiting. Sherlock watches as the door swings shut after John and then calmly heads for the exit. Exterior Bart's rooftop, day. Sunlight, dawn. Sherlock steps out onto the roof of Bart's. Suddenly, music. Staying alive, just like in episode 1. Jim waiting for him, sitting, precariously on the edge of the building. The music is coming from his phone, sitting in a speaker.
Lovely morning. Well, here we are at last. You and me, Sherlock. And our problem. The final problem. Did you guess it?
The song hits the chorus.
Staying alive. It's just so boring, isn't it? It's just staying. I've been searching all my life for distractions. You were the best, and now I don't even have you. Because I've beaten you. And you know what? In the end, it was easy. So easy. And now it's back to playing with ordinary people again. And it turns out you're one of them after all. Boo.
For a moment, he's just staring, haunted, like he's really lost something. And then he pulls himself together to business.
No, well, come on, admit it. Did you almost start to wonder if I was real? Did I nearly get to you? Did I?
Richard Brooke.
No one seems to get the joke, but you do.
Of course.
Attaboy.
Rich Brooke. In German, it's Reichenbach.
Flashback to auction house. A lush romantic painting. The Reichenbach Falls.
The case that made my name.
Back to Bart's.
Just trying to have some fun. Not cross, are you?
Sherlock shrugs, doesn't mind. He taps his fingers on the wall, a distinctive rhythm.
Oh, good. You got that too.
Flashback to Jim drumming his fingers. Da 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 da.
The beats, like digits.
Flashback. Jim still drumming.
Every beat is a 1, every rest a 0, binary code. That's why all those assassins tried to save my life. It was hidden on me. Inside my head, a few lines of computer code that can break inside any system.
Told all my clients, last one to get to Sherlock is a sissy.
Yes, but now that I've got the code here, I can alter all the records you created, kill Richbrook, and bring back Jim Moriarty.
Jim starts to laugh.
Oh my, you're so easy to tease. There is no key, Doofus. Those digits are utterly meaningless.
Sherlock looks crestfallen.
You really think a couple of lines of code are going to crash the whole world around our ears? I'm disappointed in you. Ordinary Sherlock.
But the rhythm.
Partita number 1, I earned 1 billion thanks to Johann Sebastian Bach.
But then,
How did I break in? To the bank, the tower, the prison, daylight robbery. Just take some willing participants.
Flashback. The Tower of London. Security room. 2 security guards watching. A security guard says something like, fancy a cuppa? The colleague goes out. The one left alone starts to press the buttons to shut all the doors and turn off the lasers and clang, 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 back to rooftop.
I knew you'd fall for it. Your weakness. You always want everything to be clever. Now, shall we finish the game? One final act? Glad you chose a tall building. Groovy way to do it.
do what?
Silence. Sherlock stares. And then he realizes with horror.
Ah, yes, of course. My suicide.
Disgraced detective. Proved to be a fraud. I read it in the press, so it must be true. I love newspapers. Nothing's ever tentative. Everything's so black and white. Fairy tales. Pretty grim ones, too.
Exterior Baker Street day. A cab screeches to a halt outside 221B and John jumps out. He scrambles with his key in the lock. Interior Baker Street Hall day and thunders up the stairs. He throws open the door to the flat. Interior Baker Street front room day, but it's empty. Where are the paramedics? Where is Mrs. Hudson? He looks wildly around, then races back downstairs. Interior Baker Street Hall day. As he reaches the front door, Mrs. Hudson appears in her own flat doorway with a workman in overalls.
Oh, Dr. Watson, you did make me jump.
But
is everything okay now with the police? Has Sherlock sorted it all out?
On John, cold, dawning horror.
oh my God.
He tears outside, leaving the door wide open. Exterior Bart's rooftop day.
A little too obvious getting John out of the way.
You realized?
Please.
Well, I just wanted us to be alone. No gooseberries. You did it to yourself, you know. All I did was pull one tiny little thread. All that resentment you created, that I just had to pull it down on top of you.
You haven't won yet.
No?
No. I can still prove my innocence. I can prove you made up a whole false identity.
Killing yourself would really be a lot less effort.
Beat.
Oh, go on. For me, please.
You're insane.
Are you just getting that? Let me give you a little bit of an extra incentive.
He knows what he means without asking.
John?
Not just John. Everyone. Everyone.
Mrs. Hudson.
Everyone.
Lestrade.
3 bullets, 3 gunmen, I have sent 3 assassins. But there's no stopping them now.
Cut to Mrs. Hudson back in her kitchen. Brings up a cup of tea for the workman doing the tiling. Camera lingers on him, his grave expression, something hard and cruel in his facial expression when her back is turned. Cut to Lestrade's new junior officer bringing Lestrade some paperwork, his cold expression. Cut to a third assassin, an undisclosed location, taking a rifle out of its case.
They've been given their orders to kill. You can have me arrested, do what you like. Nothing will prevent them from pulling the trigger. Your only 3 friends in the world will die.
Okay, the script is like way jumped.
Yeah, sorry. I pressed something and it just flipped up and I'm not sure where I am.
You're still another page or so down.
Okay.
Keep going. Okay, right there. Up. Back up. Up a little bit more. There you go.
There. Back
Unless
to the
I
rooftop. Yeah.
Unless I kill myself. Complete your story.
I have to admit it's neater.
My reputation has to die as well.
Of course. That's half the fun of it.
Exterior London street day. John desperately trying to grab a cab. He's wide-eyed with panic. A cab pulls up and a man tries to take it. John shoves it violently out of the way and leaps inside. Cut to exterior Bart's rooftop day. Jim is now staring down over the balcony. Bart's staff are arriving for work. He yawns. It's all too easy.
Come on, Sherlock. You've even got an audience now. Off you pop. Strawberry jam time.
Sherlock, now looking down, like he's really contemplating the fall, actually doing it.
Go on. I've told you how this ends. No alternatives, baby. The only thing that will call this off, the killers, is your death. I'm certainly not going to do it.
I take it I'm allowed a moment of privacy?
Of course.
Sherlock has taken a step closer to the edge. Jim starts to walk away, but suddenly Sherlock laughs. This impacts on Jim. What? What? Sherlock turns, confident. He's realized something.
What? What is it?
Sherlock smiles.
What is it? What have I missed?
You're not going to do it. The killers can be called off then.
On Jim. Oops.
There's a recall code, a word, a number.
Jim doesn't respond. Sherlock steps towards him, framed against the sky, and his smile drops. He looks almost demonic now.
I don't have to die if I've got you.
What? You think you're going to make me abort the order? You think you can make me do that?
Sherlock stepping closer now, so calm, so scary.
Yes, and so do you.
Jim faltering back a step.
Oh, come on. Even your brother and all the king's horses couldn't make me do a thing I didn't want to.
I'm not my brother. Remember, I'm
Beat.
you. Prepared to do anything, prepared to burn, prepared to do what ordinary people won't do. You want me to go the distance to shake hands in hell, Jim? I'm not going to disappoint you.
A step closer, but Jim, still smiling, still confident.
Nah. You talk big, but nah. You're ordinary. You're on the side of the angels.
On the side of the angels, yes, maybe, but Jim, don't ever think I'm one of them.
On Jim. Oh, as he starts to believe him, he melts into a smile.
No, you're right. You are. You're me. And you are good. You're not ordinary after all. Thank you. And bless you, Sherlock Holmes. So long as you've got me, you can save your friends. As long as I'm alive, you've got a way out. Well, good luck with that.
And casually, easiest thing in the world, he puts the gun to his head and blows his brains out. His final defeat of Sherlock. Jim falls to his knees, smiling, his body crumpling at Sherlock's feet. Cut to street level. Bystanders look up, hear the bullets echo. Exterior Bart's roof day. Sherlock looks down from the roof at the scene below. Cut to John is running up to the hospital entrance. His phone rings. He answers.
John,
Sherlock, are you okay?
walk over to the other side of the street. It's a bit tricky to explain.
What?
I'm all right. Just do as I say.
I'm coming up.
No, please. Just this once, do as I ask.
Reluctantly, John crosses back over to the street, away from the hospital.
Stop there.
Sherlock,
Okay. Look up. I'm on the rooftop right above you. I can't come down, but I wanted to see you, so we'll have to do it here.
Cut between the roof and the street. A crowd of doctors still gathered below.
what's going on?
An apology.
Beat.
It's all true.
What?
Everything Kitty wrote about me.
John's world suddenly freezes over. He finds it hard to even speak.
I invented Moriarty.
Why are you saying this?
I'm a fake.
Don't, please.
Every case, all those deductions.
Sherlock,
The newspapers were right. Telestrade and Mrs. Hudson and Molly. In fact, tell everyone who will listen I created Moriarty for my own purposes.
Beat. John just doesn't know how to reply.
when we met, the first time we met, you knew all about my sister.
Oh, no one could be that clever.
You could.
I researched you. Before we met, I discovered what I could do to impress you. It's a trick, John, just a magic trick.
Stop it.
John instinctively takes a step onto the road.
Don't move. Stay right where you are. Keep your eyes fixed on me. I need you to do this for me.
Do what?
This phone call. It's my note. In a way, you have to write a note.
Write a note when?
Point of view, John. Sherlock throws himself off the building.
Sherlock!
Down, 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 crashing to the ground. No one could possibly survive an impact of that magnitude. John rushes across the street, and a cyclist knocks into him. John is hurled onto the tarmac. The cyclist doesn't stop. John's point of view as he gets up, it's like he's underwater. Sound, images, all distorted. People try to help him, but he pushes them away. It's like slow-mo. Cars and more cyclists and pedestrians get in his way as he runs across the road. It seems to take him an age to reach the bruised and broken body of his friend. He finds Sherlock on the pavement, battered and bleeding, surrounded by doctors. And one of the doctors taking a pulse in Sherlock's neck and shakes his head. And John falls to his knees and presses his fingers to Sherlock's wrist. No pulse, nothing at all. Utter despair and desolation. His best friend is dead. He tries to cradle Sherlock's dead body in his arms, but a gurney arrives and the doctors whisk the body inside.
Please, please, please. He's.
The gurney is whisked into the hospital. John's point of view, a young doctor is talking to him, but John doesn't seem to be able to hear. Point of view across the street, an assassin watching John through the crosshairs of a rifle lowers the gun. Interior, 221B Baker Street day. John is in the flat alone. Silent, stares across at the familiar room, does not know how to react, does not know how to be. Interior, Diogenes Club day. Mycroft reads the paper. Suicide of fake genius. He puts down the paper and stares into space. Interior room day, John and Ella, his therapist, days later.
There's stuff you wanted to say, but didn't say.
Yes.
Okay. Say it now, John. Say it to me.
No. Sorry, I can't.
John cries. Interior car day, John in the back of a car traveling through London, Mrs. Hudson beside him. a bouquet of flowers in her hands. Exterior, cemetery day. An urban cemetery, thick carpet of gravestones in the foreground, the spires of the city behind. A plain black marble headstone has just been set. Mrs. Hudson and John come to see it. She takes John's arm, and they stand there silently. Birds tweet, spring is coming, a few buds on the trees.
There's all the stuff, all the science equipment. I left it on all in boxes. I don't know what needs doing. Thought I might take it to school. Would you?
I can't go back to the flat again. Not at the moment.
Camera turns around, headstone, Sherlock Holmes, dates obscured.
I'm angry.
It's okay, John. Nothing unusual in that. It's the way he made everyone feel. All those marks on my table and the noise, firing guns at 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Bloody specimens in my fridge. Imagine keeping bodies where there's food.
Yep.
And the fighting drove me up the wall with all his carrying on.
Yep. Okay. I'm not actually that angry.
Beat.
I'll leave you alone to,
And she scuttles away. Long silence, and then,
You told me once that you weren't a hero. And there were days I didn't even think you were human. But you know what? You were the best man and the most human being I've ever known. And nothing will ever make me believe that you lied to me.
he pulls that scarf out of his pocket and wraps it around the tombstone.
I was so lost and I owe you so much. But sorry, mate, there's just one more thing. One more miracle, Sherlock. Don't be dead. Please, for me, just stop it. Just stop being dead.
Crying now, and he turns and starts walking away. We hold on him, a lonely figure heading away. Take our time with this. Watch him climb in the cab with Mrs. Hudson and drive away. And at the last possible moment, the camera whips around. And there is Sherlock watching everything, watching John leave. Black. End of episode.
So good. I love this one. It's so good. I think the only other, aside from like the opener, I think the only other one I love even more than this that I would have gone full ham to get Moriarty for that one would have been The Great Game. That's the end of season 1, series 1. It is so good, but this is so good. Love it. Okay.
The one with his sister.
Yeah, that's series 4. Eurus.
Spoilers? I haven't seen them all.
I know, no spoilers. We can't go into.
No, I had to do that though. I really like that one too.
The East Wind. Yeah.
This kind of reminds me of the House MD episodes because, House also lives at a 221B Baker Street and Wilson is like his.
Well, that was going to be my piece of
their
trivia.
House in Wilson, their Holmes in Watson.
House
They
is based
are.
on Sherlock. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's cranky, not misogynistic, misanthropic. He's cranky and a asshole, but really, really smart and has somebody who's like more normal
Yes,
and
I was going
shorter
to say.
do his bidding.
And that's why it's called House, like Holmes.
Oh.
Well, like solving the cases for them is like solving a mystery, and it's quite entertaining.
And it's all about the case. It's always all about the mystery, the whatever it takes to find the answer.
Oh.
And he's a druggie too, so there's that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. Yeah.
Sorry, we beat you to it. Okay, so who's?
Yeah.
Does anybody have to leave, or is everybody staying for discussion, or what's on?
Well,
the
I'm
agenda?
going
I'm
to, but you
debating.
can
I'm
talk
tired.
amongst
I'm debating.
yourselves, and I'll be back.
Okay.
If you're the host,
I'll be here for discussion.
Okay. So, does anybody have to go? Morg, you staying?
I'm debating. I'm tired.
Okay.
Kat, did
Well,
start
if
to
you
say
do have
something?
to leave, you haven't seen Sherlock, Heather?
No, I'm considering it because
I
I
haven't
highly
seen
recommend
is a
it.
really good
Do highly
actor.
recommend. I think everybody else in the group has. Well, maybe not Morgan, but I think
I have
almost
not
everybody.
seen
I have not seen
Well,
it.
I work and I act, and I also am going to school, so I'm a bit busy at the moment. But in July, my calendar will open up when I'm done school. So, but I'm moving to full time, so we'll see.
Okay. If you can, you can. It's a good series to watch. I really love series 1. I really like series 2. Series 3 and the Abominable Bride episodes kind of hurt in a weird, different way. And then I only made it through 1 episode of series 4. So unfortunately, I'm like, oh, I had to watch a highlight reel. I'm like, oh, I got told so many times. It's like series 4 will gut you. I'm like, okay, we already had Moriarty burn the heart out of us. So I don't, what else? Seriously, what else can the show do? They're like, and they told me, I was like, oh yeah, I might have to. I have to work up to it. I'm gonna start at the beginning and do like a full rewatch. But I was obsessed with this show when it came out. I cannot believe it's been 14 years. This has been going on
Has
for
it
over a
been that
decade.
long?
2009 was the first. 2009 or 2010. End of the naughties was the first Sherlock episode, and then we had like
Where-
a year and a half wait. Huh?
Where can people stream it at?
Ooh,
I was trying to find it, and
know
well, you can
it's
purchase
on
it
most
on
of the-
Apple, and you can
you can
purchase
on
it
Apple.
on Amazon, but I couldn't find it anywhere else to play.
I think most of the like BritBox and Acorn, anything that like streams a lot of BBC programming, I know has it on there.
There was something
You can
called
find
Philo that had it.
yeah, but yeah, it's like random, extremely niche streaming services that have it because it's like the Beebs locked it down. It's like
The closest I could get was watching reaction videos to this episode. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, damn it. They are all showing me the last roof scene. And then I've found a bunch of videos of like how Sherlock faked his death.
Yeah,
But those weren't clear because there's like 4 or 5 versions. And
there
they're
are,
all
and
with the real actors. So
yeah, they
can you
never.
explain that?
Well, at the very beginning of 4, or of a series 3, the first episode, I will go ahead and spoil one thing. Yes, Sherlock obviously faked his death. We know at the end of this one, but there's a lot of speculation as to how he did it. I have my own personal theory that rubber ball that he's bouncing. Okay, show of hands. When you were a kid, did anybody ever put like a ball under their arm and like so you couldn't feel your pulse in your arm?
No, but that's one of the things I saw on the recaps.
Yeah, a lot of people think that the fact that he was playing with it, all you have to do, it's like the matter of a couple of seconds because it literally just holds the blood from being registering as a pulse. And so it's like, I remember doing that as a kid, like thinking it was so funny that like you cup it like, right up against the brachial artery, like right here. And it like, you can't feel your pulse in your wrist for a little while. And then we took it out. And so it's like the fact that he's playing with it, and it's very specific and it's a very interesting type of ball. They use it for testing stuff like that in hospitals. And I was like, that's my personal favorite. Although I do love the like action series one where he like comes down on a guide wire and he like bursts through the thing and he walks up and just like grabs Molly in this passionate like romance novel. Oh, it's so cute. But yeah, no, I like.
Yeah, how is that? Did they film all those alternative suggestions and show it in the episode?
Yes.
What were those for?
Okay, so Anderson goes from being, despite being married, he and Donovan were like hooking up for a while. He goes from being like the leader of the charge of like, oh, Sherlock was a fraud, to the president of the no, I believe in Sherlock Holmes fanboy club at the beginning of series 3. So they have all these theories about like what happened and everything. It was really funny. But they were all intentional. They are never going to tell you exactly how it happened. So all of it was speculation because it's like they had the fan forums blowing up. It was like 4th of July fireworks as soon as Reichenbach aired. You had people watching it in several time zones, arguing about plot points, people over the entire summer. And so they actually took almost every single one of those was a fan suggestion. And I'm like, oh, that is this. I swear, sometimes shows that I watch between seasons, they have to be reading the fanfic. You have to be reading. It's like, that's a little bit too specific for you to have just come up with on your own. I'm not saying you're not clever, but were you that clever? I don't know. It's a little too close, but I did really like it. And the series is just, oh, it's so good. And I like that it was sort of like, this is kind of a random aside, but if you ever watched Columbo compared to other like detective serials of the same time, those were always really seeming like lower quality because they were rushing them so much. They wanted to do 4 episodes a month. And Peter Falk was like, dude, you got to give us time. So I think they narrowed down the filming schedule something like 1 a month. And one, it gave him more room to breathe, but it also upped the production value. So they're almost like mini movies instead of episodes. And that's kind of what Sherlock was. They knew they were going to do short series, limited episodes, and then like have time between to be like, is this still a thing going on? Are people still interested? And the more ravenous the fans got between series, they're like, oh yeah, we can totally do this, do that, do whatever. And so I do like when they start messing with the fans in gentle ways. Honestly, they're good. But the series is so good. I was hardcore obsessed for the first like 2 series, and then I had to take a little break. And then by the time 3 came back, I was like, okay, you've hurt me in the past. I'm willing to step into this, but I'm bringing alcohol. And I made it through series 3, and then I watched The Abominable Bride in appropriate period era clothing. And then I had to wait. And by the time 4 was getting announced, I was like, I'm actually going to wait and see how I feel. And then I just have never gotten past the first episode. I know what happens. I just don't know that I at this point, I would have to start the series over from the beginning and just do it. Cause I've rewatched series 1 and series 2 and most of series 3 over again. But I do want to start at the beginning and just go all the way through. Cause it's at that point, the train will have built up so much steam. I can't stop it. And I'm like, okay, just bring it on. And now
what I enjoyed about this script and the recaps was the I didn't realize, I knew it was a fan theory that, you know, Watson and Sherlock were like lovers, but I didn't realize how much of it was in the script.
Oh yeah.
And then I was like, oh, that's fun, because it's like, oh, you know, one of my favorite shows, Xena, where they put it all in the script for all the fans to watch and have fun with. And yeah, it's all in the scripts too. And then I was watching one of the recaps with someone's theory about what happened with Moriarty and the faking it. And it was interesting then to read the script because, their ideas were based on camera shots and things the camera showed, but were not actually in the script, so they couldn't be right.
Mm-hmm. I did like that. And of course, one of the things that is in there is a lovely little tip of the cap to the fans. I'm just like, one of them is a Moriarty Sherlock snog. Do it again. Yeah, that was probably back in like the hallowed early days of like Tumblr gift sets and stuff like that. That was probably making the rounds almost as much as like several other pieces. You're like, yeah, that and the, oh honey, you should see me in a crown. I'm like, yeah, yes. I mean, we did, but yeah, just whatever. Yes. Andrew Scott.
I was say that it's like the Tumblr was probably what increased the fan value of this show.
Would not surprise me. I mean, and also you had, Mark Gatiss as Mycroft was a huge propelling force for this. So you had him, and then you had Stephen Moffat, he had his fingers in so many pies. I mean, that man is like Jack Horner times 6, and you're like, okay. And most of the ones he pulls out are plums, and that's good. And for this one, it's just like, I love that it's not exactly queer baiting, I don't think. Yes, Watson ends up married, but doesn't stay married. And you're like, you understand really, really early on why we shipped it so much. I mean, even in like the first episode, people like giving them little glances. There's references to them being on a date, and you're just like, oh, we're going here. We're like acknowledging the giant Victorian elephant in, we're going there. Bring it on. Okay, do it. And ever since then, it's so good. Love it. So good.
I was also noticing in the script read through how the accent, how the British is in the action description.
Yeah. Like you can't be arsed to do something. I'm like,
yeah.
which makes sense. British slang and in a British script written by British people for
Yeah.
a British show. Like,
I don't know why I thought it would be more like technical, but there it was. I was like, oh yeah, I guess that's in ours too. In American scripts, they just have our slang. Didn't think about it, never considered it.
It's weird because it almost reminds me of like the Breaking Bad script that we did not that long ago, where it's like they have all those references to other stuff, which I know you only got away with because like the script had already, it was a show that was like huge and this was like the finale, but I was like, yeah, I kind of like those little nods in scripts sometimes. I'm like, so it was good stuff. So I don't know, Morgan, have we enticed you to maybe want to watch the series now?
I will watch it. I do have to say, not knowing the show, I was a little bit confused at points. Just I have never seen a single episode of the show, nor a trailer, nothing. But it sounds interesting. I like the dialogue. It seems like one of those shows where you really fall in love with the characters, and that's why people watch the show. Less so than what the plot is about. That makes sense.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Plus, it's if you were coming into this with just like I like mysteries, you liked it. If you were coming into it, I like procedurals, you probably liked it. If you're coming into it with, I like British stuff, you probably liked it. If you're coming into it with, I like Sherlock, you liked it. And if you are a Sherlock fan, if you are like me and have like, the full Arthur Conan Doyle compendium on your bookshelf, you started noticing like the references and the titles and what the cases were and the little nods here and there, like some big and some subtle. And I'm like, oh, that's clever. That's fair. Oh, that's clever too. And so it's like there's something on kind of so many levels and layers. It is a delicious parfait of a show. I really like it. So I think if you
That's how I feel about Once Upon a Time.
Yeah, that one got somebody added like growth hormone to that parfait though. It blew so out of proportion
it was very complicated. I wanted to make like a crime scene map so I could show how everyone was related and how they were like multiple different Disney characters at the same time simultaneously.
Well, I actually was thinking about Once Upon a Time because somebody had brought up queer baiting, and I felt like that is a good example of a show that queer baited. I feel like this show didn't really queer bait because the characters truly do deeply care about each other, and it's about that kind of love and not just trying to get the fans crazy.
Oh yeah, wasn't just Mulan suddenly having a crush
or Swan Queen.
I'm sorry, I ship it. Monopolia. Yeah. But yes, no, definitely.
But yeah, like you're saying, I would watch this show not because of the mysteries, because I'm not interested, or the crime, not interested, but the relationship between Sherlock and Watson, that intrigued me. I might watch it for that.
Mm-hmm. And like first episode ever, they're sitting along. They've already been mistaken for a couple, at least like 3 times, including by somebody who knows Sherlock fairly well. And he's just very calmly like, assuming John is kind of going into this, he's like, John, I feel I should let you know I'm flattered, but I'm married to my work. And he's like, okay. Oh, you thought no. And you're like, but again, they made him a military man, and both partially from my family, more from my friends who have been in the military. Guys will give each other a hand from time to time if it's so needed. And that's all I'm saying on that. When you're deployed for long periods of time with people that you trust more than blood. And yeah, so it wouldn't surprise me at all. We'll just go with that. and I'm a hardcore shipper. Weirdly enough, my actual number one ship, I am a John Locker. I do like those two. I think they're
Can we
very
just
cute.
pause and have for the non-millennials in the crowd? What is shipping?
Shipping is you take the action figures of the characters and you put them on a tiny little love boat and you put them off and you sail them off to sea and you say, this is my ship. It is the SS, whatever you have named it. And in some cases they're straight and in some cases they're not. And in some cases they have very little interaction or they're designed to be with someone else, and it doesn't really matter because you still ship them. I ship so much. I think my nickname should be FedEx because I ship a lot of characters. I do. So
Or
for
you're an
this
ultra shipper with OTP, your one true pairing.
I have OTPs.
I had to
and
learn
then-
all that from my millennial friends who also taught me how to use Tumblr and GIFs.
I'm an elder millennial. I'm a bit like Eliza Schlesinger. We're a little bit farther, closer to the beginning of the.
Funny you
bracket.
should mention that. I just went to her show on Wednesday night
She's great.
or
isn't
Saturday
she?
night. Yeah, she's amazing.
I will never get Tumblr or
Yeah.
Snapchat.
I don't snap, but I did. I was a panda in a dryer for a while with that Tumblr. I was like, oh, you will fall into
Tumblr is not as popular as it used to be.
It's
Tumblr
because
used to
the
be.
porn was banned.
You know,
Yeah.
I
yeah. They had
OnlyFans.
Everybody left, went to
Hold on, what's that,
OnlyFans.
Heather?
hand raised. And
What's
I
that?
I am a slow speaker, so I'd like to get my full thought out before anybody says anything. Thank you.
Sure.
I just realized there's another comparison to House in this episode. House does fake his own death, and Beckett, I'm going to spoil. He fakes his own death in the end to help a friend preserve their life, because in the end of House, Wilson actually gets diagnosed with a terminal cancer, and just Wilson doesn't know how he's going to handle it. He suffers through the very painful chemotherapy treatments, and it's just so painful for him. And then House does a prank and is faced with going back to prison because he spends a lot of a season in prison. And then he does this prank and then he's faced with going back to prison. And then eventually House basically fakes his death, switches the dental record, sneaks out the back of a burning building. And then when Wilson is giving the eulogy at House's funeral, there's a text on Wilson's phone saying, "Shut up, you idiot." And then Wilson ends up going and finding out that House faked his death. And
Wow.
Wilson's like saying, "You can never go back." And House is like, "How do you want to spend your last few months?" And then they go off on this ride in the countryside on this motorcycle. And it's basically, Sherlock faked his death to preserve John's life, as House faked his death to give Wilson a preservation of life for the time he had left. So that's a good comparison.
And Wilson and Watson. I had no idea. I never watched Holmes or whatever.
House.
That's interesting. Or House. Okay. Because
Medical
I'm gonna have
mysteries.
to now. Wow.
Mulder cameo.
Cool, all
I
the
knew he was
That's
coming.
Thank you for the moment.
Yes.
yeah.
I find it a little bit sad, especially if you have watched all the way through the series, but even if you haven't, that when the people that like Moriarty tells him, he's like, "Oh, I have everyone. So everyone that you care about, everyone who cares about you, their life is at risk." And it's like he starts listing them. The first person that he mentions is John, of course. That is his Dr. Watson. The second person that he mentions is Mrs. Hudson, and then he mentions Lestrade. And I'm like, I don't know how to feel given what I know about Series 4, which I'm not going to go into right now, but I'm like, I don't know how to feel, even given the strain in their relationship, that there was no assassin for his brother. Now, maybe they thought he was too impenetrable. Maybe they thought Sherlock wouldn't care. But it's so freaking sad. It's like his brother is the British government, but he loves him so much. This is his baby brother who he always looks out for and has put himself on the line numerous times to get him out of danger. And it's like, I would have looked at that as anecdotal evidence that clearly there's a connection here that you're missing, and there's no one. And I'm like, that just made me I think that made me cry harder than the "Don't Be Dead" line. I thought about it afterwards, like, oh my God, there was nobody to kill his brother. Which is a weird thing to say, but I was just literally very sad about that.
My
Brought tears to
perception
your
is that Sherlock was very arrogant, and arrogance can cost you. House was very arrogant, and eventually he lost everyone, but only Wilson was there in the end. And his arrogance led him to drive his car through Cuddy's kitchen. And eventually Cuddy left him after he tried and failed to keep a relationship with Cuddy, and in the end he served time, and eventually all he had was his Wilson, and eventually Wilson did die, and we never saw this, but then house
I've
was
not
a
watched
little.
it. I don't want to hear all the spoilers.
Well, you're getting
Sorry,
this.
you missed
I
the
know.
warning earlier.
What's that?
I said sorry, you missed the warning earlier that she was going to spoil it.
Oh, I heard some of it, but I'll probably forget by the time I watch it.
I stopped watching
Well,
the
that's
series.
an
after.
assumption, right? He didn't actually die on screen. It was just an assumption.
He had a
Yeah,
terminal
House
cancer.
came out with a magical cure at the end, and they lived their days on a beach for the rest of
never
their
know.
lives. There you go. Ta-da!
Did anybody watch Elementary?
Yes.
Yes.
That
No,
show I'd
I
seen a
haven't
few
even
times.
heard
Yes,
of it.
I
Is it
and
new?
I know there are so many people who compared the two, which I always thought was a little unfair because they were designed to be different. They were just both about modern day Sherlocks. But I find this fascinating for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is that the Nick Boyle, or sorry, Danny Boyle, Nick Deere production of Frankenstein had Johnny Lee Miller, who played Sherlock in Elementary, with Joan Watson, a gender flip version played by Lucy Liu. I love that.
Yeah.
And Benedict Cumberbatch, BBC Sherlock, flipping the roles of creator and creation in Frankenstein. It's glorious. And they both base their portrayals on different things. And the show would flip back and forth. And I'm just like, my brain hurts with how much I love it. It's so good. But it's just like they were literally they were Frankenstein Sherlocks. They were Frankenlocks, and it was just so great, and I loved it. And yes, but I do think the shows were intended to be something different. I always thought it was a little bit unfair to compare them, and there are things definitely to like and dislike in both. So those are my 2 cents. And someone else.
Have you ever seen The Electrical Life of Louis Wayne?
So what is it?
The Electrical Life of Louis Wayne. It was one of the things that Benedict Cumberbatch starred in. It's a very, very decent, deep story. It deals with a cat artist. And it deals with the true story of British artist Louis Wayne, who was very famous for making cat paintings at the end of the 19th century.
Is it messed up that I imagined a cat painting?
Yeah, I was like, do you paint a cat?
Schizophrenic or something like that. He struggled with mental illness and he was very famous. And Benedict did a beautiful job of portraying that. Just like, yeah.
Was he the guy that they looked at a series of his paintings and you can actually see like the denigration of his schizophrenia or whatever
Probably.
I think so. Yeah, they did a series of like 6 of his paintings and they're all of cats. But some of them are just whatever I don't know if it was hallucinations or whatever his primary issue was. You can actually look at the progression of the illness, kind of the same way that like Monet's water lilies and his paintings got more and more softened.
I think the cats were inspired by his cat named Peter.
Probably.
And it's just a very good film. I saw it at a film festival and Benedict did such a good job. It really speaks to who he is as an artist. And he's just very amazing, very diverse. And he also played a version of Khan in a reboot, in a Star Trek rebooted version, film called Star Trek Into Darkness. So
I was thinking of how also Big Bang Theory is kind of, you've got that Leonard and Sheldon. Watson and Holmes kind of relationship.
Also, I think, also very much so, especially given the difference in like heights and social dexterity, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it. But I'm going to completely do something that I don't usually do, and that's make fun of something, but I'm only going to make fun of it because somebody else made fun of it first. While watching this, I told Morgan about this. There's a concept on YouTube called a crack video. It is not what you're probably thinking. It's literally moments in a show, series, movie taken out of context, usually with either text or audio clips overlaid that kind of are like what the character's thinking or reactionary, whatever. And in one case, somebody had the shot of, and I do want to make it very, very clear before I say this, unaliving yourself, having those thoughts is not ever a joke, and we do not intend to make light of it. And I am actually sorry that I, wanting to not spoil it, did not preface the episode when we started reading with a potential trigger warning for discussion of suicide. It's not ideation, I don't think. It's just, it's the only way he can think to get out. And he's not actually dead. That doesn't change the fact if you are having those thoughts, please go get help. But skipping off to the side now that I've completely killed any levity that may exist around what I'm about to say. They show Sherlock and Watson talking on the phone, and Watson's looking up at him. He's like, okay, let's try this again. What do we do? What do we say when we have the urge to throw ourselves off a building? And Sherlock like looks down, thrusts the phone and says, yeet. And and he's like, no. And I'm like, yeah. It was funny in context.
Can we explain yeet for the non-millennials and the
okay, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think most people know what yeet means, whether you use it or not.
I know I had to explain it. My girlfriend uses yeet incorrectly now on purpose because at first I explained it to her after I thought I understood it.
I want to hear the incorrect way.
She's like, I'm gonna go over and yeet myself on that couch. I'm like, I don't think that's right.
That's not quite
I'm
right.
gonna yeet over there and get some food. I'm like, I don't think that's right.
It's not phasing. No, I literally, but the other day I somehow yeeted something off into another plane of existence. I was looking around for it for like an hour and I'm like, okay, it's gone. Somebody asked me what I was looking for and I told them and I was like, I don't know where it went. And they're like, did it grow legs? I said, no. I somehow
look at Kat and how she looks like Dr. Evil all of a sudden.
Oh, I like it. Bond villain. I love it.
Yes.
We have Morgan with her adorable puppy of diabolical mastermindery, and then we have Kat like looking just ever so classically Dr. No. I'm loving it. I love it. And of course, oh, Vicky, can you go like this and just go excellent?
Excellent.
We just have the trifecta. I love it. Thank you, all of you ladies. Love you so much. Love.
I think like also Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, like from Star Trek, they're a bit of a Holmes and Watson. They need each other to solve problems, and a lot of the other Star Trek crews they need each other to solve their problems.
I hadn't thought about it before, but then when we were doing Wrath of Khan, and then I saw Sherlock on the list, I was like, oh, they're kind of like the same. Yeah, definitely.
Except
Spock
like
is
because
Sherlock.
Kirk is totally Watson.
It's just like they took the dominance out of one and put him in the other, but it's still like that homoerotic love.
And Spock did give his life.
Logic.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, dark hair, intelligent, just absolutely no grasp of social mores or subtlety or anything like that. Entirely logical, but still capable of forming emotional attachment. And I'm like, and then you have fair-haired, shorter, cocky as hell, still empathetic, still wanting to get everything into bed. I'm like, yeah, the parallel is there.
And the medical mind about, like, between both of them.
That too.
And that dynamic of like genius and handler that we have in like Monk. And
they're all shipped. They're shipped like all over the freaking universe. They are romantically shipped, and I support.
Well, I brought it up when we did it, that, you know, that actually is the reason that like male fiction was originally called slash fic, because all of the hand typed stories that you found like in the backsides of comic books were like Kirk / Spock. That's where it comes from. I'm like, oh.
And there's actually, have any of you seen Star Trek Deep Space Nine? I don't know if any of you have.
Maybe when I was a kid.
Is anybody familiar with the ship of Julian Bashir and Garrick?
Yes,
I read one.
So you get the episode Arman Bashir. So you get it. They had to act like Sherlock and Holmes in that episode because they were trapped in that holodeck and charged with trying to save the lives of everybody else. They were trapped in a game that was beyond their control, right?
Didn't Picard used to go in the holodeck and play out Sherlock Holmes?
With Data.
Yeah, with Data.
I know, but this was actually Arman Bashir was sort of a James Bond type thing. Julian would go in there for his fantasies, but he went in there one day and Garrick snuck in there, which wasn't technically allowed. And then they ended up trapped in there. And the rest of the senior staff ended up being beamed in there as holodeck characters because their ship blew up and there was nowhere else to put them to preserve their life patterns. And Julian and Garrick had to play through the game, as it were, without allowing anyone to die.
There you go. The ultimate escort mission. I like it. Vicky, answer or question. You've seen the series, Sherlock.
Yeah.
Any of it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So your thoughts on as another, you know, in the little trifecta of like, you know, seen it, obsessed with it, haven't seen an episode, whatever. So your thoughts on getting to kind of really immerse into the script and see like what was on the page compared to the screen.
Oh, yeah, there were definitely a couple of areas where I went, wait, I can't remember now. It seemed pretty darn close.
Especially with the final draft too, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
as we've noticed, this draft has the camera angles and descriptions.
yes, that was fun.
What
And the
I
song
liked
titles.
You're like, oh, that's right.
being able to see on the screen when Sherlock is thinking something, you know, all these words pop up across the thing. We see a little bit of that in the script, like when he's in the lab with Molly and he's examining the 5 different elements, and you see the words chalk show up and eventually chocolate show up and things. But even when he's looking at somebody and he's analyzing, you know, some stranger, you'll see, you know, things like, okay, looking at this part, you know, the skin or hair or, you know, something about the clothes, and all these little thoughts just pop up, you know, or the ones and zeros show up, and that shows up in the script too. And it's such a different stylistic choice of doing, because you don't see many episodes of any other television shows where you see the character's thoughts just pop up on the screen, but in this one it's so relevant because ordinary people like us, right, won't have all those different to connect together. So it was I like that different stylistic difference and how they built that right into the script itself.
Yeah.
Now, of course, loving Laura Pulver and like really liking the Scandal in Belgravia episode, which is where they introduced the Irene character. I did find it fascinating. I will spoil one tiny thing. This is in season 2 or season 1. She shows up and you're like, oh no, I take it back. It is season 4. Sorry, episode 4. I'm getting so out of it. It's in the season, but she's Irene Adler, and so of course she's smart and she like knows a lot of what's going on. But at one point, she is with her assistant / potential coded lover, Kate, and she's standing in a robe looking at her closet, and Kate's like, and what are you doing? Oh, picking out my battle dress. Ooh, lucky boy. And of course she shows up wearing nothing but a pair of Christian Louboutin heels. I'm like, okay. And so he sits down and is looking at her, and she's covered as you would be, but he's looking at like Watson, and all these little things keep popping up. And then he looks over at her and there's just nothing but question marks all over. I'm like, okay, I'm only going to call bullshit on one tiny thing. You have looked at dead bodies before. You have looked at just a person's hands or skin or whatever. You should be able to pick out every beauty product she used on her skin, in what order and why. I call shenanigans. You get nothing just because she's only wearing a smile and an expensive pair of shoes.
That was funny. It was definitely funny. All those question marks.
I know. It's just like he looks at Watson, and there's like the fact that he missed a piece of his stubble, and the fact that he like, you know, hasn't been getting enough sleep, and like this might be a vitamin deficiency, and he's wearing like the same shirt he wore 2 days ago. He looks at her, question marks, and I'm like, I don't know. You've been down in that morgue with Molly. I have the sticker that says left my riding crop in the morgue. I'm like, I call shenanigans.
Did anyone watch Psych?
Actually, no. I know the premise
Psych was
of it.
good. I don't remember if they did the same thing, but basically he has a similar skill to Sherlock, except he's extremely personable, and he just makes up that he's psychic, and that's why he can determine all these things. But he's still using the same skill of observation.
Right.
Yeah,
And I don't
his
know
from
if you do that
photographic
on
memory
screen
or something.
technique.
Since we're on the topic of television, I'd just like to apologize for boring anyone with Truck Talk, because I realized quickly, thanks to Angelina, that nobody realized what I was talking about. But
I said that I
Bashir,
don't, and maybe that's the same with other people.
So I'll just tell you that Armand Bashir is an episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and that's available for viewing on Netflix, Crave Canada, and Paramount Plus, and other places where you can watch Star Trek.
She comes with the facts, ma'am.
No, I didn't say nobody knows. I said maybe that's the case. Maybe
Well, I
that's the
just wanted to
case.
make people
I didn't
aware.
know.
Just thank you for enlightening me on that. I should make people aware because not everybody's a super geek.
Well, no, hold on.
I think we're all
I
super
take
geeks here,
exception to
just in
that.
different
Excuse me.
genres.
We're all super geeks. Damn it! Wear those
I think
badges. with
Petra's made
pride.
that very clear tonight.
But
Don't
it's
take
about
Petra's super
consideration. I
geek
just
badge away,
wanted to-
please.
I just wanted to make sure everybody was enlightened and told where they could watch it.
And you're fine. But I argue that we're not. It's not that we're not super geeks. We are all different brand of super geeks. I am
Right, like
the
ask me
hardcore
about Xena, I got
with
info.
Yeah,
And the Kirk
we all
and
have
Spock,
we're different divisions of the geek squad. Okay, that's
yeah,
what
and
it
the
is.
Kirk and if people want to watch Kirk and Spock, I believe Star Trek, the original series is also available on Netflix, Crave Canada, and Paramount Plus, and wherever else Star Trek can be streamed. And the Star Trek movies might be harder to find, but you can go to pawn shops or find them wherever Star Trek can be streamed, probably.
I probably won't watch it. I'm sorry.
Don't apologize. We all have our. There's things that
Just
you
what
like
there's
and
actually a really I can't remember what it is, and I'm not, why am I saying it? I don't know, but there's a really funny channel on YouTube where this guy recaps Star Trek episodes, and it's hilarious. So you can just watch that.
Well, I kind of do that as well in my little diversity club. We pick an episode and we talk about it, and I've been doing that since 2021. We're at 45
like
things right now.
Book club with episodes. That's kind of what we're doing. We're script
A
club.
lot of people do that.
I just saw the book club movie, so that's in my head.
Except, of course, the first rule of Table Read Tuesdays is we try and tell as many people as possible. We just don't have very many people tuning in. So it's the opposite of Fight Club, really. It's like the first rule of Strip Club is you come and talk as much as humanly possible and do things.
Kat, when you're sorry, this is off topic completely, but Kat, when your head was cut off, Heather was above you and you're both wearing black and it looked kind of like the picture just blended in.
Wearing your hat.
Just playing the tuba.
It was one body. It was like just extended down.
Something going on there.
What sound?
I had burritos for
An
lunch.
airplane.
I apologize. I did not have burritos. But now I
We
will.
don't have full accompaniment to our actions. We just have everybody gets one. So somebody obviously picked up a tubist, somebody else gets a flautist. I'm hoping personally for a cellist just because I happen to like them.
Maybe somebody said
How
something
about
wrong. And we got
clarinet?
that.
I've been playing that since I was 10.
Okay, and somebody has to have a triangle, but it can be a really bitchin' triangle. Like somebody's got that ding 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 ding. Ding. Somebody can
How about
go on that.
They've completely
A
derailed
saxophone in
into
my closet.
an opera. I mean,
I will-
Can I be the clarinet player and the swimmer? I've actually been in the paper for my swimming. So
wait, you're going to be the swimmer in the orchestra?
That
Oh.
yeah,
the swimmer and the clarinet player.
I suppose you could fill up the orchestra pit with water. We've done it before.
Well, no, I
It-
said
it's-
I wanted to be the
it's-
clarinet player and also be a swimmer because I've done both.
Together at the same time. Play while you're
It is the
swimming.
great aquatic orchestral movement, synchronized orchestration.
I think that'd be
I like
fun.
Oh.
It's right here.
It wouldn't sound good at all if I'm a part of it, but I would
swim
try.
trunks with a bow tie. Make it formal.
Let's
I
make
like
the
it.
thumbnail for this. All of us, big heads, little bodies that are swimming and also
Can
playing.
someone else do it? I have my hand I have one hand and I'm not able to. Let me see. I might be able to.
You have one hand.
Yep, right now I do.
Yes.
You
One
lost
hand on
a
one
hand
hand and one
since I
hand on
last
the
saw
other.
you.
No.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Everybody ready? There.
For what?
I don't know.
I don't know. I took a
We're
picture.
pretending we're playing instruments.
Oh,
Oh,
I
I
just
didn't know what
smiled.
we were doing.
I didn't-
I just look like I'm
I
smoking a big
heard
joint.
take a picture.
I heard big heads. I was like,
Oh
I
no,
kind of
sorry.
phase
I meant
out
a
in these after
Photoshopped
talks because I'm
thumbnail.
tired in the end of the day.
Oh,
So I
okay.
don't hear
okay.
what's going on, and I just talked over, so I don't hear what everybody else is saying.
Here, okay.
There we go. Anyways, I think I'm gonna head out, but I think you guys can stay here if you want to.
I gotta go
I think
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pretty
time
sure
to
it's
go.
those days.
Well,
All right.
if our own personal Mrs. Hudson is turning in for the night, Vicky, our beloved, you know.
And I will play percussion, but not the triangle. I will play spoons.
Oh, like that.
And what
Very
about
nice.
tambourine?
I have one of those. It glows in the dark.
I could maybe do
Glow in
kazoo.
the
I
dark
could
tambourine?
probably
Wow.
do kazoo. And I'd
I can
probably
do-
get too
I can
much
do kazoo.
wetness and
I
it
can
would
do
stop
kazoo.
working halfway through.
I can also play the tonette. Anyone
The
know
what?
that one? It's before recorders, they had
Oh.
tonettes.
That
So
was
do
something
you
you
play
play
with
with
your
your toes,
toes?
and I was imagining.
I know.
Think
Everyone's
you
like,
play it with your
Practice, I could
toes. You have
probably
to.
play as God Save the King.
Like Green's
yeah,
on
I
my
have
recorder.
I have the music book. It's from my sisters who are 20 years older than me. And yes, in the music book, it's God Save the King. And so
Oh yeah, I like with practice I
we've
could play
come
that
around.
too. I played it before. We could do a double performance, Vicky.
Yes, we could.
everybody picks an instrument they're somewhat proficient on, and we all do like
Yes, I played clarinet. I just need some practice.
I have an air tuba. Do an
It's
impression of a tuba.
it's like a
Got it.
$2,000 instrument that I've
trumpet.
had since I was 10 years old.
What is it?
A
A tuba?
Clarinet.
Oh, $2,000 clarinet?
You want to
I didn't
see
know
it?
they got. I mean, that makes sense.
Let me open
instruments
the
are
box.
expensive.
Clarinets are similar to oboes, which come from the French word hautbois, meaning high wood, which is where they dug out the wood to create the instrument. So, yeah, high grade instruments of really any kind are just freaking pricey. So, on that note, I think I will also tune in. Otherwise, we'll be here all
Ooh.
chatting.
Can you play it?
Yes,
Such a
not
good-
right now.
So,
I need to
Or
practice.
let's say,
But
like,
yes,
buy-
that's a real clarinet. That's a Somer. That's a
Nice.
actual clarinet.
So handy.
Some of my old playings are available on my YouTube channel. I haven't done any in a while, but yeah.
Well, good night,
So, yeah.
everybody.
Good
Hopefully, I'll
night.
be here next week. If
Goodbye
not,
for a few weeks, please.
I also
Buffy
sing,
Justice.
Angelina.
Oh yeah. So who all is here for next week?
I'm
wish.
hoping
I'll be
Maybe
around.
After
Even
that,
if
I'm
you
not gonna-
guys aren't going to be here, you can still ask a question. Just make sure to get it to me by Friday.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Thank you for the reminder for that.
that's the
And
other reason I'm
anybody
hoping.
who's watching this, get your questions about Buffy to Morgan by Friday.
What
Before
episode
Friday.
are you doing?
Okay, here's a thought.
Um,
We have the pilot, but if you could find a different one, I think, because this was your thing, Morgan. If you find one that you'd rather do, get that to me ASAP. If you find it, and then I can get it all
Buffy
ready.
scripts are hard to find.
Yeah.
I've looked before, and they're difficult to find.
Yeah, I guess that's the issue.
I would really love to do the body, but
yeah.
I don't know if I know that one.
Mm.
I watched. Oh, all right. Is she freezing up for other
I
people
think
too?
so. Well, she said the body, and then it just all hell broke loose.
And then-
Yeah.
Mulder
That was-
decided she can't play anymore.
That's the trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Night.
Get your questions out
Bye.
to Morgan about Buffy. Bye bye.
Woo.